CoCoTALK is an unscripted live broadcast. Anything can and will happen. The views and opinions expressed by members of the panel and the live audience are their own and not necessarily those of the CoCoTALK show, its sponsors, affiliates, or subsidiaries. Open minds encouraged, sense of humor recommended. If any off-color comments were made, we're sorry.
Hi, this is Dale Lear, designer of TRS-80 Color Baseball, and you're listening to CoCoTALK.
This is CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color computer. It's time to drop your socks and grab your real-time clocks, and let's rock.
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
All right, everybody, welcome to CoCoTALK episode 112, the CoCoBotomy episode. We're going to talk about CoCo upgrades, when to upgrade, who to upgrade, what to upgrade, why to upgrade, should we upgrade, and what's going to happen when we upgrade. We're going to find out here in just a minute, folks.
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are here. We're live. We're on the internet. Episode 112 of CoCoTALK is here. We've got a topic. Surprise, surprise. We've got a panel. We're going to go around the room real quick and just introduce the panel. And then we're going to jump into our main topic because David O'Connor, our friend in Australia, well, he's got a plane to catch, or he's got something better to do, or something like that. So we need to get him in and get him out and get him on with his life. So let's go ahead and start in the top left-hand corner in a clockwise fashion. Our backup streaming engineer and just all-around well-dressed man, Mark Bosley's with us. Good afternoon, Mark.
Hello, how's everyone doing today?
Really good. In Arizona and out of the garage, it's Ron Delvo.
Hello. CoCo Central.
CoCo Central in Arizona. That is right. Soon to be neighbors with Rob Inman, right? From Canada in the Great White North, it's L. Curtis Boyle. How's it going, eh?
Good day.
Hey, you looking like a beauty there. We also have in Canada a name so nice we must say it thrice, but it's none other than Nick Marotta. How you doing, Nick?
Great. How you doing, man?
Fabulous.
Great to be here. Love the show.
Hey, great to have you on it. We've got in his car heading to a court date, apparently, or maybe Chubby chasing, but it's Grant Leedy. How you doing, Grant?
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Not bad. Hey, Grant, do me a favor. Look in your rearview mirror. All right, Grant Leedy's in the house. Somewhere in California, but soon to be near Ron Delvo, it's Rob Inman. Hello, Rob.
Good morning, everybody. WNBC.
WNBC. Just joining us out of thin air, Alan Huffman's with us. Alan, how are you?
Greetings.
Greetings and salutations. The king of the dumpster fires himself, Mr. Richard Lorbieski is here. Hello, Richard.
Hi, I apologize in advance.
From Southern California, I'm not sure if it's sunny, but he's here, Mr. Steve Bjork. Hello, Steve.
Hey there, and I apologize in advance for Richard, too.
Isn't it always sunny in California?
We've got royalty in the house. Sir David Ladd, Lord of the Floppies. Hello, David. Hello, hello.
Good day, everyone. I hope the show goes so well. I'm looking forward to the whole demo and all of everybody else's projects. I hope everybody's ready. Let's get this going.
There's no energy there.
Holy crap.
Wow. How do we follow up that? We can't, but David O'Connor, the bar has been raised. What can you do now, David O'Connor?
You need to buy a bigger dumpster now.
I'm going to let everybody down after that, David.
What color pill was
possibly
that?
top that one. I have with me in the background right here my good friend, the Frankenstein CoCo 3 with the chiclet keyboard.
Nice.
And yeah, I've got the lid off it, so shortly we'll be taking the lid off and going through CoCo memory.
Nice. Very good. And we're going to save that for just a minute here. But we're not done introducing our panel. We've got the music man, Brian Shoebring. The Shoe is with us. Hey, Brian.
And birthday boy, I might add.
Oh, happy birthday. How you doing, Brian?
Thank you very much. Is my audio coming through okay? I hope so, because I just turned everything on after a long trip down south in Georgia.
Yes, you sound crystal clear. Happy birthday.
Thank you. And on we go. On with the show.
Yes, you're too kind, and thank you.
Yes, we've got the guy who gets things from eBay and makes us all jealous. Brian Weasler's with us. Hello, Brian.
Hello, everybody.
Nice mug there, looking good. We also have a guy who's got many, many different introductions, but we'll just pick with one or two. The CoCo Man from CoCoMan.biz, maker of the switcheroo and wallaby cable. It's Jason Reichert.
Live from the bicycle trail. You have to ask yourself, ask your IT professional if CoCoTALK is right for you.
And
Side effects may include retrobriding and excessive eBay usage.
We took the pill David Ladd took.
Yes, and if CoCoTALK lasts for more than 4 hours, you're welcome. And last, but certainly not least, the Thunder from Down Under, the maker of cheap, crappy semi-graphics games, none other than Nicholas Marentes in the house.
Hey, g'day everyone. Yep, here I am, the king of cheap knockoffs. I'm well and looking forward to a exciting show. Sorry I can't do it as exciting as David, but I'm getting there.
I think you have to take illegal substances to get to that level of excitement. So.
Yeah, well, that's right. And I've got to shave my head.
Right. If anybody's watching us on Facebook, if you'd like to kindly share out the stream from the CoCoTALK page over to the Facebook group, we can let the folks in the Facebook world know that we're live and on the air if they want to join us. All right, so we've just done our introductions. We will save project updates, acquisitions, and show and tells for later. We're going to dive into the main segment. But before we dive into the main segment, we've got a new little production here. And so what I love about this show is this show is the melting pot that is our community. And a lot of the content we have has been contributed by the community. So the show is the #1 CoCo broadcast show in the history of the color computer because of the community that contributes to this show. So here we go. A new segment that's been coming along that's called CoCo Thoughts. You guys have seen CoCo Thoughts 1. Get ready for CoCo Thoughts 2, or do for that matter. Oh, that is too good. Too good. Too good.
Yes, the answer is yes.
Yes. They would. All right. So why don't we, we're going to talk about memory upgrades. Specifically, we'll be talking about memory upgrades for the Color Computer 2, the Color Computer 3. And there are many ways to upgrade. There are many types of upgrades. Ken Reichert is saying there's no sound. Oh, you know what? You guys heard it? Oh, crikey. So hold on one second. Let me see if I can.
If a color computer fell in the woods and no one was there to hear it, would they still argue about what sound chip it should have?
Okay, so one of the things that's slightly different about the show today is I have, at the last minute, I have switched my broadcast software. I am now using the OBS software, and unfortunately, when you drag a video into the scene, it does not automatically make the video play sound out on the live stream, which I have no idea why. When this is software designed for live streaming, the fact it doesn't actually stream the audio by default. Yes, besides me. But anyway, so yeah, a couple of still learning curves to go through here, but thank you for that, CoCo Thoughts. Yeah, if you guys, Mike Craig says, I see what you did there. The CoCo didn't have a sound chip. Yes, 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 yes.
Totally on theme there. Yeah.
Yes.
That's very good.
Yes. If you guys are watching us live on Facebook, please go ahead and share out this onto the Color Computer Facebook group if it hasn't been done already. All right. Hey, Eric Canales is here too, watching us live on Facebook. Mike Craig is there. Ken Reichert is out there. Retro Innovations was in the live chat on YouTube. Dave's Hobbies is there. We got all kinds of people watching us now. So the topic again is getting into memory upgrades on the Color Computer 3. We're going to have David O'Connor is going to do a show and tell. Before we do that, and I've also got a prepared video if we need it. Maybe we won't. Does anybody want to share some experiences on things they've done to add or upgrade memory to their Color Computer, past, present, or future?
Not I.
I can. If you give me a couple minutes, just go ahead and keep talking. You're really good at it when I bring up the pictures.
Oh, I need to stop sharing so you can do that. All right. Well, while Richard Lorbieski is getting his pictures done, how about what's his name?
Thank you. Yes, you're too kind.
Hold on. Wrong buttons. Hold on. What's his name here? His name is... Okay, so Nick Marotta, you recently did a memory upgrade yourself. Would you like to share your story about upgrading RAM?
I did. When I got my CoCo 3, it had 128K, and which is pretty much unusable these days. So I have one of Boys on Tech's 512K Classics, and I am not a hardware guy at all. And I was able to do it. I had some live support from a couple of my friends, Curtis and Nick Marentes. But it was a very straightforward process, and it's fantastic. Now I can run all the current software that's out there.
Excellent.
I should mention that having Nick Marentes help you with the 512 character was actually self-selling for him. He was trying to sell you Popstar Pilot.
Oh, yes, yes.
Required the upgrade. It sucked you into a sale. It was done pretty well, I thought.
That's
and
right.
I think they were secretly hoping to see some Blue Smoke released, but it was actually a very...
Well, no, he wouldn't have sold a copy of Popstar if that happened. So.
Oh, you're the one that wanted the Blue Smoke. So, but it was
what's the blue smoke smell like?
I'm assuming burnt hair, I think.
Unicorn tears. You'll see the process later, but even I was able to do it. Parts that were a little bit took a bit of time, but the actual process itself was.
You chose Curtis because there's no soldering involved, right?
Bingo.
Yeah. Curtis is very encouraging that he also is not a hardware guy, so he was prepping me up and giving me encouragement.
Excellent, excellent. So Nick Marotta has done a memory upgrade. Richard Lorbieski said he was going to do a little show and tell with us. Richard, are you ready to show or tell?
Yes, I'm ready to do that.
Go ahead and share your screen.
Okay, so you got my screen shared right now?
No, not yet, but you have the ability to share your screen.
Okay, let me... There we go. Share. Screen. Okay. Okay, can you see my screen now?
I see your screen. Oh, what is this that we're looking at? This is very pretty.
Anyway, yeah. What I want to do is since we're doing memory upgrades, it involves actually replacing this area right here, which is the CPU.
Okay.
Now you see, this is a almost bare CoCo 3 motherboard. This just demonstrates my desoldering skills ability. I did this about a year ago. Just to show off, just say, how I can desolder all these chips without any problems. So anyway, let's see, let's go here.
Is this like what's left after a nuclear attack?
Yes, this is
all the good parts.
Yeah, and this is the back side of it. Over in this area right here is where the 6809, or actually the 6309, will go. With the CoCo, or with the memory upgrade, you can put the newer Hitachi chip in there if you wish. So anyway, what I want to show you, some people have decided, well, I've soldered before, years ago, or I've soldered a couple of projects here and here, and this is usually what happens is people do not have the skills, or sometimes they don't have the proper equipment, and you can see the damage that occurs when they try to do that. You can see that traces are pulled up, pads are pulled up as well, like here. This pretty much ruins your computer, the motherboard. Sometimes I can salvage these, but most of the time I can't, and we wind up having to replace the motherboard, which could be very expensive. Here's another shot where it happens. It's very time consuming to get these repaired. So what I suggest when you buy one of these upgrades, either from myself or from Cloud9, hire, if you don't know how to solder, or you're not sure about it, either you could send it to either one of us, Mark Marlette or myself, or find someone in your local area that knows soldering, or at least try to practice on another board before you attempt to do something like this. These particular motherboards are 30 years old, and sometimes can be very sensitive to heat and to do any kind of upgrade. So I just wanted to show you that as an example of what can happen. And
So practice on a VIC-20 is what you're saying.
Yeah, practice on a VIC-20. So.
I just want to clarify, this is for the 2 meg upgrade. For me doing 512, I did not have to worry about unsoldering the CPU because I would not have tried that.
Right. So what I'm going to show here, this is the 2 meg board itself. There's some confusion because I also sell a classic 512. This is the 2 meg board. This right here is the DAT, or what they call the MMU. It also has the built-in Guardian protection, which protects and buffers your CPU and control lines here. This little cable right here is it takes 2 additional address lines to bump it up to 2 meg. So this is the memory board itself right here, the E2 board. And this is where you have to unsolder and put this, daughter board in there. Now, the other thing is, this is the classic 512 board that I also sell. Now, the E2 board, the 2 meg board, sells for $49. This board right here only sells for $15.95. And the difference on this one here, compared to the other one, you see that there is no upgrade path here. There's no little connector here where you can attach it to another, to the daughter board itself like that. The difference between this one and this one here is you could buy this memory board right here for $30 all by itself, and then eventually you can also upgrade, buy this board right here to make it 2 meg. But the other one for $15 is just the board itself, nothing else. And these are perfect for people that have multiple CoCo 3s that don't want to, they want 512, but they don't want to spend the extra expense of the 512 E2 board.
I got a question.
Sure.
Where do you clip the capacitors or whatever? Which ones?
Okay, the capacitors is, the first one is right here. You can see the little area. There's actually 2.
It's actually gone in that one.
Yeah, well, this one's gone. I unsoldered it.
Yeah.
The other one it's in this area right here. It's underneath the board, but it's a really tiny capacitor. I think it's 33 picofarad. The other one's 27 picofarad. You can unsolder them. Most people just clip them out. Other people can just bend them back and forth and use the heat friction to remove them as well. So you don't really need any kind of soldering skills to do this particular upgrade here. Of course, you also have, these empty slots right here, sockets. This is where the 128K upgrade used to be, or was, and you have to remove those chips as well in order for it to work.
And Mark B can vouch for this too. If you do not clip those capacitors, funny, weird things can happen which are not good.
Right.
Yeah, especially the top one there, if you leave that one in there, it sort of works, kinda.
Yeah, it's
throws weird messages sometimes.
Right. It's a filter. Yeah, it's filtering for the CAS and RAS line, and that's
it throws the timing off a bit, and will work in some areas and then doesn't work in other areas.
When you say weird things, does it say something like Commodore Basic ready?
No. Stress
No, okay.
tests throws
Okay.
these funny errors that don't make sense.
Cass and Rast sounds like good names for pets.
Yes.
Okay, Alan Huffman's asking a question. Why did different 512s do those differently? Radio Shack was different than Peripheral Tech, or maybe it was the Disto's 512. When they say do what differently? We're talking about clipping the capacitors or what? Alan,
Yeah, I'm
you-
not sure what he's talking about because they all required clipping the capacitors from what I
Yeah,
remember.
all of them did, and sometimes you could get away without clipping them. It's just one of those unpredictable results. So
Yeah, my performance peripherals 512K ran fine for years with the upper capacitor in place, which is why I didn't think of removing it.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at, because the one that I got, I didn't have to do the same steps that I would have with the Tandy one, and I always wondered what those capacitors or whatever were for.
I think it would have to deal with what kind of memory chips they used and how sensitive they were to timing.
Yes.
So some may be tolerant, some maybe not.
And
Yeah,
plus,
'cause
some of the boards were sold with 150 nanosecond chips, and some are sold with 120. So maybe that would have made it, more aggravated if it was a RAM or something.
You clip them with both the Boys on Tech board and the Cloud9 board. It's the same process.
Right. Yeah, all of them. Every memory board that is out there, it's recommended that you clip out those caps.
I got a question again. All right, let's say your 512K board went bad, not yours, but maybe one you had, and you wanted to put those chips right back in again and have 128 again. And if you already clipped those or you took them out and you lost them, would it still work?
It
At least it did when I did it. But
yeah, it's again one of those unpredictable things. It may or may not work.
And it may work for a while, then you get all of a sudden you just get something weird happen in a certain game or a certain function occur and then it would crash.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now that Richard has the 512K upgrade board for $16, I mean, you might as well just get a replacement at that point.
Right.
But in a pinch, if you had upgraded yourself to 512 and you did not remove the capacitors, and that might be one benefit to just clipping the legs. If you clip the leg and the capacitor's still there, you could just do a drop of solder and reconnect the capacitor's leg back on in a pinch, right?
Right.
Yeah, you don't actually have to disconnect both legs. You just got to snip one.
Just
to
snip
make
one
sure it's
leg,
out of
and then if you
circuit.
have to, you could reconnect it.
Yep.
All right, so we saw some cool pictures from Richard Lorbieski, and just to be fair, yes, Richard does sell and install memory, but there are other providers of memory too. So yes, as Richard mentioned, Cloud9 Technologies also has memory upgrade boards, and the process of installing and upgrading memory is going to be the same regardless of who makes the board. The CoCo is the same, and RAM is RAM. So the RAM board add-ons the process is going to be identical. You're going to pull out the old chips, you're going to snip 2 capacitors, and then pop in the new chip. And poof, you're at 512. You add a DAT board and a couple wires, poof, you're at 2 megs. Which I've also got a video if we need to show that, because I went through this process too, thanks to the help of the guys here too. Who else wanted, before we get to Davy Mitchell, who else had a memory upgrade story they wanted to share or question about memory upgrading? Crickets?
Well, I have a little story about something other than memory that went bad.
Is it a quick one?
One time
Okay.
I had no blue. The little cursor goes and there's no blue in it. And then if you do a CLS3, no blue. I think it was gray. And so I asked Paul Barton, what do you think this is? And he says, well, he thought it was one of the 3 transistors. Anyway, I talked to Richard, and he sent me a transistor for it, and Paul Barton put it in for me, and it worked again, and it was awesome. But it's just a weird thing. Has anybody ever had a color go? It was the RGB circuit, evidently.
No. We're getting some heavy breathing alert here, so I know that maybe for the after dark, this might be a feature that some people are interested in, but for the daytime show, let's try to keep that on to a minimum. Somebody's got a hot mic probably. So, all right, cool. So say that again one more time. You didn't have blue, and what was the fix for blue, Ron Delvo? Sorry, I was distracted by the sound.
There's three transistors to the right of the keyboard on the motherboard, and the furthest one to the right was bad. If I moved it, sometimes I'd get blue, sometimes I wouldn't. So eventually, Richard sent me a transistor, and Paul Barton pulled it out, put the new one in, and it worked.
Okay. Very cool. Very, very cool. All right, Davy Mitchell, not Davy Mitchell, David O'Connor. Davy Mitchell is our friend in Scotland. But David O'Connor, you have recently done a 2 megabyte upgrade to your CoCo 3, and you've got things close by to the camera. You're under the hot light right now. You look like a McDonald's French fry.
Yeah, I turned that around. That's make my face look better, but the computer still looks
No,
like
that's
it's on
fine.
fire.
So you have the floor. We are focused on your camera. So it is time for you to show and tell whatever it is you're going to show and tell with us.
Okay, let me see if I can just move my camera around here and switch it to the rear camera. There we go. Okay, as I can see on the screen now, I'm running the stress test at the moment, showing 79 megabytes of 2048K has been tested.
Mm-hmm.
I did a test on it earlier on. Literally, this has just been installed. I literally installed it just before the show. This is rather weird.
That is kind of funky seeing a CoCo 3 with a CoCo 2 keyboard.
Yeah.
Yep.
But not only that, you have a light.
You have a light on it?
Yep. Little LED light there. Just a power light, which actually is a bit of a pain in the neck when I'm working on it.
Can I ask you a question real quick, David?
Yeah, sure.
When you go to your computer and you look at that red light, does it say, "I'm sorry, Dave, but I'm afraid you can't do that right now"?
Yeah, talking of the then it starts to sing Daisy when the memory goes up.
Back to the speech sound pack. I'm sorry, Dave.
Yeah, Daisy. No, I won't put you all through that. I'm just noticing here it's running a lot cooler than it was with the old Tandy 512K. This had 512K in it when I got it off Browser. It was originally 128K, as you can see from the badge there.
Mm-hmm.
The 512K looked like it was probably a Tandy factory job. If I just take the lid off of here, and you'll see that wire down there, that's the wire going to my LED.
Okay, I see that, yes.
Which actually makes it a little difficult to take the lid off and play around with, but we can get to it here.
Need to put a quick release on that.
Yeah.
Thank
my
you.
camera
Yes, you're
is
too
doing a
kind.
reverse
Thank
thing, so if
you.
I move left, it moves right. So I'm sort of, I'm going to be having my hand on the wrong side. I'm trying to get it that way. That's better. Okay. As we can see there, we've got the Boomerang E2 board there, 2 megabyte board.
You've got a PAL CoCo 3, don't you?
Oh, your
certainly
memory's
do.
sideways. Your
Yep,
CPU is sideways, I should say, yeah.
CPU sideways, yeah. So that did actually mean I had to do a few soldering mods. As we can see here, the cartridge port with the Mega Mini MPI and the SDC.
Yeah.
Here, you can see right here at the edge where the CPU plugs in. It's right up against it. So I actually had to bend. I don't know if you can see that there. I had to bend the pins up from horizontal to vertical. And the other thing that happened was the stock jumper, because this CPU normally sits about here. And the jumper goes across there and up to there to the Boomerang board. But in this one, in the PAL one, I actually needed it to be longer. The jumper wasn't quite long enough to reach from here to here. So as you can see here, I've got my own wires here, and I've just got a couple of wires off the workbench, and I've soldered them directly on. So you can see they're soldered onto the pins on the E2 board, and those 2 pins there. So that was a couple of things I had to do to get it working in this one. So it wasn't quite as straightforward as plug and play.
So none of this is because you're from Australia, correct?
Yeah, it's our PAL system. They've decided to shift things around everywhere and put things in different spots. So CoCo.
Oh, I was going to say I can actually in the future, because I've sold several PAL E2 upgrades and nobody gave me feedback on this, and I'm glad you did, because I can actually change it up for the PAL version very easily and ship that out. To where it's just plugged in. You don't have to do all this weird stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Well, like I said, the main thing was this. Was the length of the jumper and the and putting the making the pins horizontal so they didn't hit the edge of a cartridge when it was plugged in.
What's that white connector for?
That's the power board.
Here. Yeah,
the
right.
daughter board. It goes under the motherboard.
Yep. Yeah, if you take the motherboard, that's actually the top of the socket. There's actually holes through the motherboard and it plugs in underneath. Yeah.
We don't have one of those either.
No, you haven't.
That's for the. That's actually for the composite output. That's the composite output there we're looking at.
That's actually pretty clean.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's the memory test. There's some pretty weird graphics on the screen there, but you can see the actual picture is actually pretty good.
The fonts are real clean.
Yep. So, the PAL output, the standard composite output on the back here, as you can see there, I've just got audio and video plugged in there.
Now the Cloud 9 memory board, the DAT board, you see that white connector you just pointed to? I think the Cloud 9 board is a bit wider and it may hit that white connector. So I don't know how it goes, whether it'll fit in a PAL one because it is a wider board.
I think what you can do is you can put like a little riser socket in there to elevate it up.
Yeah. There was one other little thing that I had to be very careful of here too. We see on the E2, but I don't know whether every CoCo is like this or whether this is another PAL thing. But there's an electrolytic capacitor right here, and it's sitting right on the edge of the E2 board there. I actually had to pull it forwards a little bit this way, closer to the keyboard, in order for there's an IC just underneath here, and if it was back where it was originally, it was actually sitting on top of the IC, and I couldn't get it to push down all the way on that connector there. So just by nudging it forward, this might be just another PAL thing. It was only a minor detail.
I think it is.
I think it is. What's the value of that capacitor?
That's a good question.
I'd say a good $2 to $3.
Or actually, what's the on the silk screens that say C42?
Yes, it does. Yeah,
okay, I can look it up in the schematics, and I think it's probably 100 microfarad, and I might have a smaller version of that.
I'll just see if I'll move this keyboard. I'll see if I can get that camera to focus down there.
So you couldn't notch your board for that one, huh?
No.
See if I can get that to focus.
So the US CoCo has a similar cap, but it's mounted on the inside of the connector, and Boomerang has no effect on it, but some of the bigger boards does extend over it just a little bit, just like this one is.
Yeah, so all I had to do there was just pull it forwards a little bit, and it cleared that IC underneath, and everything plugged in and worked fine. So it wasn't really a big issue there. But if somebody didn't know about it and they just pushed it in and thought it was sitting down flat, it may not work, because that connector there wasn't sitting down all the way on this end here.
Richard, would putting slightly longer pins on there help that?
Probably, yeah, I guess. I said,
not necessarily. It would have to be longer pins, but then you'd have to make the thing rise up a little bit higher. Longer pins, all that does is just going to drive those staking pins into the board itself, and it can short out.
Oh, okay.
Oh, good point. Yep.
Is there anything on the bottom side of the Boomerang to be concerned with? Do we need to put, say, maybe a piece of tape or something on top of the electrolytic so it doesn't ground anything on the Boomerang board?
In that little area there, it shouldn't be a problem, because
not like some vias or something right there.
Yeah, those vias are actually ground planes.
Yeah,
on the edge, all that is ground plane right there.
Yeah, and it's all screened as well too. So, and the edge of that capacitor, as you can see, it's actually a plastic case around it. So there's actually a little bit of protection there. It's right. The plastic case basically just in there. You can see just the edge of it there. So the metal is actually lower than the edge of the plastic. So even if it was sitting down flush on it, it wouldn't really be able to hit the metal on the capacitor, which isn't actually grounded anyway. The metal can on most capacitors actually isn't connected physically to any part of the capacitor as a general rule. So it's probably very, very, very slight chance that anything could go wrong if anything did hit anything.
Now, if something did go wrong, where exactly would the smoke come from?
Oh, the capacitor. When capacitors like that, when they let go in a spectacular way.
Oh,
There's
they
no
do.
doubt.
Yeah.
Yep. They launch themselves across the room.
Yeah,
and they
I had
ricochet off walls
I had an old HP workstation in my master bedroom, and it was sitting on top of my TV hutch that was used like for a TV media streamer. A capacitor in the power supply blew. It sounded like an actual gunfire in my room.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about a grown man screaming like a little girl when I heard that thing go off. It literally scared the crap out of me. And later on, I found the capacitor on the ground, and it looked like a freaking shell casing. It was that metal cap that I picked up off my floor, and I was like, dude, this literally was almost like a drive-by here. Somebody just popped a cap up in this place, and it was kind of scary.
maybe that's where that slang term "pop a cap" into
Pop
somebody.
a cap, yeah.
Right. When they go, they actually get really hot. It's actually the heat that causes them to explode in the first place. But the plastic case off them will completely melt off them, and if they hit you when they first explode, they've got the potential to burn.
Oh wow.
I got an image of StevieStrow going to DEFCON 5.
Hey, David, I just looked it up. The capacitor is 100 microfarad at 16 volts. And what I'll do is I'll get a capacitor kit, since I know you do your own. You're pretty good at electronic soldering and stuff. So I'll send you a capacitor kit, and then I'll also make up a cable to where you can actually just dress that cable much better than it is right now. So all you do is just plug it in. You'll have to solder the connectors in on both ends of the boards, and it'll fix it up.
Oh, awesome. Thank you very much for that. Really appreciate that.
Cool.
Well, yeah. Certainly
Quality.
can't complain about the
Live
service.
customer
That's
support.
fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Whether it costs us $70 to send it or not, right?
Right.
As we were talking about before, as Richard was talking about before too, with obviously the CPU has to be unsoldered. This had a 6809 in it originally. And when I got it, I unsoldered the 6809 and put a 6309 so I could run Ed Snyder's chiptunes player. So I'd already actually unsoldered and socketed a 6309. So even that side of it here in this mod was actually really easy. But yeah, it's definitely something that I would completely 100% support what Richard said there. If you're not familiar with soldering and you're not experienced with soldering, I wouldn't even attempt it. And especially not with the right tools, because you'll damage the board really quick smart.
Hey, Richard, I got a question. When in the past, people have piggybacked 6309 and 6809 and hit a switch. Is that something you would have people do, or is that a good thing to do? Or
I don't advise doing that, and the problem with doing that is if, for example, if this so happens, if that CPU fails, it's a nightmare to remove. I know that's people have done that in the past, and it's just one of those things that it could be a big gotcha down the road. It's just a lot easier and a lot, I'd say, better practice to just go ahead and replace it, put a socket in there.
I was going to mention too, I think Jim Brain actually sells one of those dual socket things, kind of like pre-done as a little satellite board that you can do both if you really have to test software between the two chips. But
yes, he does.
They're so compatible that you'd have to be writing like a legal code on purpose to really need that.
Yeah, correct.
I'm just going back over here to my workbench at the moment. Let's see my camera there. This is my soldering and desoldering works. I don't know if you guys can see that there at all. I'm getting
wires and buttons. Yeah.
I'm getting a weird thing happening with Zoom here. Yeah, it's a bit of a mess, my workbench at the moment. This here, that's actually the desoldering gun there. So it's a proper temperature controlled soldering irons on this side and desoldering on this side. So it's I've been involved in electronics for 3.5, nearly 4 decades now. So soldering is something that I'm intimately familiar with. So but yeah, even then I wouldn't attempt that CPU upgrade unless I had that proper desoldering workstation there. So,
We're getting heavy breathing again, so we need to guys with the boom mics. Check your boom mics. Check your sensitivities. Make sure your mic's not too close to your nose or your mouth.
And my workbench is a big mess, as you can see. It needs a big cleanup. There's the old 512K.
Yeah, a lot of RAM. Hey, that looks like the one I mailed to Nick. Nick Marentes, have you gotten my care package I sent you?
Yes, I have. Yeah, yours is different in that it's an early triad one with the uses 2 SIMs, SIM modules
okay.
rather. Yeah, that one's
okay.
An old one. I haven't plugged it in yet, so I don't know if it works. Hence why I haven't refunded it.
I thought I sent you the Tandy RAM because I thought I got Tandy RAM on the auction.
No.
No, you got the Tandy RAM for the 2 meg, I think, for Jim Brain.
I don't remember. I could have sworn I bought.
And then someone bought me a 512. I think it was somebody else that bought me the 512 at auction, because I have that.
Okay, so somebody else. Oh, so maybe I bought it and I gave it to somebody to ship it to you because you had stuff.
Yeah, that was it. Yep.
Okay, I do remember buying a Tandy 512. So what I ended up doing was when I did my upgrade and added my 2 meg, I think Nick said, "Hey, I'll take that RAM if you don't want it," and that's when I threw it in a box to send to Nick. So you got my care package, right, Nick?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for that.
And
Steve, Steve, are you having memory problems here?
I'm sorry. Were you asking me a question? I don't remember. Yes. Yeah, I have. I'm having memory problems about who I sent memory to and what memory I bought. And yes.
Here are your dad jokes for Father's Day, by the way.
Yes, that's right. Thank you. You too can. Yes. Okay, so you got the 512 that I sent you, Nick Marentes, and you got the Y cable and the 8-bit DAC and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I did. Yep.
Okay. And did you get that little card that's in there?
Yeah, that's right. Signatures of.
Yeah, so that's a physical copy. That was everybody who was at CoCo Fest 2018 who autographed those cards. So that's not a copy. That's an original of the autographs from 2 years ago at CoCo Fest.
So in a couple of years, I'll be able to put it on eBay and
retire. 20 cents.
Yeah. So that means Brian Joyce, your neighbor. Can you just look out your back window and yell to Brian, see if he got his too? Because I mailed Brian his Atom cartridge and his autograph card too. Cool. So even though David O'Connor, you had a couple of things to kind of navigate because your motherboard was slightly different than the US CoCos, it still went fairly well. And obviously it's working because the memory stress test is working. And you're happy with having more RAM in your CoCo 3, I would assume.
Oh, absolutely. And one thing I didn't mention actually was those 2 capacitors. I actually did a bit of Googling it looked like the PAL motherboard was actually different. Again, where those capacitors were, one of them's in the same spot next to one of the old 128K chips, but I couldn't find the other one. But because it already had 512K of RAM in it, those capacitors looked had already been removed anyway. So even that was a really straightforward thing. I didn't even have to. It looked like the other reason why I'm suspecting that was probably a 512K upgrade from the Tandy factory is that the capacitor wasn't snipped and it was actually properly desoldered. In fact, it didn't even look like it had been soldered in the first place. So whoever did it actually removed it professionally and properly.
Very cool.
Obviously, it wasn't me.
Hey, David, I got a question about your Model 1 keyboard there. Do you find that, I don't know if you've had much experience in the past, but the chiclet keyboards don't seem to go as much as the newer ones? Do you know?
Don't seem to go as in die, you mean?
As in not work, yeah. I don't think I've ever had a chiclet keyboard go bad, ever.
Yeah, no, this one's obviously it's an original chiclet keyboard and it's still working perfectly. So
how about Richard?
The original one from my CoCo 1 from the 80s. That one, as far as I know, still works. Still, if I can find the thing, but yeah, they seem to be very reliable.
Boards continue to work. Nobody liked typing on them.
That's why.
Steve, you sounded really far away. Were you away from your mic, just so you knew?
Sorry about that.
Yeah, okay. You want to repeat that?
The reason why they keep working and working is nobody used the keyboards. Nobody liked typing.
Good
For the
stuff.
same reason MC-10s don't yellow.
They don't get out. Oh, Lord have mercy. Good stuff. Does that conclude what you were going to do your little show and tell segment with us, David O'Connor?
Yeah, unless anybody's got any questions or whatnot, then I think we've probably pretty much covered everything that I experienced. I did take a bunch of photos that I was planning on uploading before the show to Facebook, but I didn't get time to process all the photos, and then I figured, hey, why don't I just set the thing up and take the lid off and put the camera in front of it and talk about it? And
that works.
I can do way more than we could with photos anyway, so it ended up working out for the better.
Okay, well, here's the thing. I think we've probably covered it, but I'm going to let both the panel and the audience decide, because I do have a prepared video, and it is about a 20-minute video of the pulling out a 512 upgrade and putting in a 2 meg upgrade on a American CoCo 3. And I recorded this. I recorded this right when we got back from CoCo Fest, and I was thinking I was going to air this as a segment on our CoCo Fest wrap-up show if we were short on time, and we just haven't been short on time. So I've been sitting on this video for a while. I think the video fits in with the topic today, but we've seen the inside of a CoCo. Richard showed pictures. David's shown some video. Has it been beat to death, or would anybody like to see a kind of a video talk through of the process doing it on a CoCo 3 again? Just by vote here in the panel, who thinks we should air that video?
What level of DEF CON did you get during the filming of the video? Because that's the entertainment value we'll be looking for.
No, just no DEF CON, a little bit of shaky cam here and there, similar to what David was doing.
Well, he did sit on it, though, but... yeah. Do it. Go ahead.
I mean, the difference with your video, though, is that you're actually showing the process. I mean, we've seen the results of the process.
Yeah, we're going to show the process.
Yep.
Yeah, and maybe for some people that are sitting on the fence about doing the 2 meg upgrade, maybe it is worthwhile showing.
Okay, hold on. Let's get Alexander Wallace has to leave. You want to know, can we display composite games properly on a CM8? And the composite will not show up on a CM8 because it's RGB, right? The only way that would work is if you would have to have the CoCo 3 modified versions of some of the games. Is that a good answer to Alexander Wallace's question?
It doesn't do subtle artifacts. It only does pure red, blue, and black, white, and some of the ones will look really frayed looking, like the text will look like crap and stuff. So it can be done, but it's not an optimal solution. Using a SCART solution or something would work much better.
Did the CM8 have a composite mode, or was that other?
Nope.
Magnavox did not.
Okay, so it was the other monitors.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I have 2 votes in the live audience to post the video separately. James Diffendaffer says posted separately. Al Hartman says posted in the Facebook Coconut group. All right.
Well, let me ask you, though, when they're solder sucking all these posts, you can flip through the video quicker, right? Make it not so boring.
There's no solder sucking on there. This was a CoCo 3 that had 512. I pulled out the 512 and I stuck in the 2 megs.
How long is it?
The CPU was already upgraded.
Yeah, the entire video is about 20 minutes. So I got 2 votes from the audience to not show the video live on the show. I'm not sure what the panel says about showing the video, but
it could be shown later.
Okay.
Maybe we could do it at the end of the show, and then people that aren't that interested can just tune out. I mean, Jim and Brain will be way ahead of them tuning out, but
yeah.
Because we're coming up on the top of the hour anyway.
Okay. All right. So why don't we do this then? So this was a good segment, our memory upgrade segment. Jim,
I did want to add one thing that maybe we'll do before or after the commercial break that I'm presuming you're coming up to.
Yeah.
There was a discussion on Facebook. Is a 2 meg upgrade worthwhile versus a 512K, which kind of expands on this from the software side.
Well, this is the topic we're on, so that's still memory related. So why don't we go ahead and have, since we've talked about the physical aspects of installing RAM and DAT boards and stuff, why don't we talk about the mental aspects of RAM? And the software side, right? I believe
we can do that when we come back from break.
We can do that when there's our lead. All right, so when we come back from break, we are going to do this. Now, what I'm going to do too is I'm going to, just to let you guys know, in the past on the show, I had a slide I pulled up that I kind of just generically referred to as our sponsors card, where we said, here's some sponsors of the show, or here's some people in the community. It was more really like a shout out than it really was the sponsors, because most of the people on that slide weren't really literally sponsoring the show. So what I've done at the end of CoCoTALK in the credits is, rather than trying to mention every single community member that we want to shout out, to keep it simple and to keep the credits shorter, I just say go to imacoconet.com for a list of all these different community resources and community contributors. So when it comes to plugging all the various people who are making products and doing projects, the easiest thing I can do to plug that is just say go to imacoconet.com. That's imacoconut.com, and then you can get links to everybody, to every podcast, to every hardware, software, vendor, distributor, all that kind of stuff. But I do want to mention sponsors, because we actually do have sponsors. We have patrons. We have patrons who have paying us monthly that help cover the costs of doing the show, the hosting costs and things like that. They also give us a budget so I can order headsets and microphones and mute buttons for the heavy breathers, which, by the way, we need to get some, I need to order a new round of muzzles and duct tape. But yeah, so we actually do have people who actually sponsor. And so what I have never done verbally is to say their names. And so I'm going to speak their names. They've always been on the bottom of the screen here, kind of in a crawl. But we're going to switch over to our actual patrons. And these are the actual sponsors of the show. So in mostly alphabetical order, Al Hartman, Alan Huffman, and Blair Ledoux has been our patrons and sponsors of the show. Brendan Donahue, creator of the CoCo VGA project at CoCoVGA.com, is a patron. Brian Joyce and his cool project site, Extructus, EXSTRUCTUS.com. D. Bruce Moore, the lovable and talented D. Bruce Moore, and he's got a couple of CoCo projects like CoCoForever.gracenote.ca and FOD.gracenote.ca for his Forest of Doom project. We've got Davy Mitchell. We've got Diego and Disney Saints fans. Eric Canales and his cool project site, color-computer.com. We've got Grant Leedy, Jason Downs, Kyle Eder. Ken Reichert and his website, canmakeit.com. That's CANKEN, makeit.com. We got Polly Walnuts Fiscarelli, Ripen Peach, and Steve Bjork. We've got Richard Lorbieski of BoySonTech.com. Terry Steggy, The Backyard Shed Gang, and Tom C. are all patrons of the show. So how about a quick commercial, and we'll be back with more discussions on CoCo memory.
Nick marionettes on electricity.
Crikey! Electricity's a fad. The biggest market is with open flame.
Brought to you by Nitrous 9, Ease of Use Edition. A Boomerang Memory Board, BoysOnTech.com production.
They came for us in broad daylight. Hungry. Wanting. More memory, they said. More power. Proper design at an affordable price. We took shelter. They were unstoppable. They're coming back for more.
In 2019, what goes around comes around. Boomerang 512 Classic, $15, 2 megabytes for $49. Available now. Boomerang mania is real.
All right, and we're back. All right, so the general consensus is nobody gives a rat's ass about watching my memory upgrade video live and on the air. So we will post that memory upgrade video later. It will not be live. It will not be on the air. It will be for your reviewing pleasure at some time in the future. So we're going to continue the discussion of CoCo memory, specifically around the CoCo 3. We've talked about 512 upgrades, 2 meg upgrades, DAT boards, soldering, desoldering, cutting cutting things and all kinds of stuff. But now there was a question by somebody who I think it was our friend. What is this? Retro. He just posted the video too, where he got his unboxing. I have it in the news where he says it's like, well, do I really need 512 meg? Excuse me, 512K. I say 512 meg a lot. Do I need 512K on a CoCo 3? You know, who could ever need more than 64K? Who are these people? So do we need 512K? Do we quote unquote need 2 megabytes? So there is the question. Panel, discuss.
512, absolutely, at minimum, and 2 meg depends. I mean, that future-proofs you for some, games and stuff that are currently in the works. If you're a Nitrous 9 user, I would definitely say go with the 2 meg because you can do a lot more stuff, a lot better multitasking, more multitasking.
I like it when I go over to my buddy's house and I tell him, yeah, I got 2 megabytes on my CoCo.
But 512 to me is a no-brainer because there's so much software now that requires it. Games-wise, operating system-wise, if you're doing anything semi-complicated, word processors and stuff even took advantage of it. So I would say 512K for a CoCo 3 is a minimum.
Okay. Yeah.
I went for the 2 meg over the 512K because really I figured if I'm going to be spending money on 512K, I might as well spend a bit more and go all the way to 2 megabyte. And being a programmer and an experimenter and whatnot as well, it just gives me plenty of options down the track if I want to, play with huge arrays and things like that, or just memory intensive, applications that I might not have thought of had I not had that amount of memory to play around with. So for me, it was just it wasn't that much more in price, and I figured it just gives me all the options later on if I want it, it's there.
Yeah. As a developer myself, I go over 512K pretty well daily because I've got multiple windows open with, text editors, 56K things, and I'm assembling in another window and testing graphics software in a third. And so,
512K was a standard configuration that Tandy offered. So this was a stock option for the CoCo. It was not probably utilized too much in early CoCo software, but I would say the second wave of CoCo software, like the 90s stuff, like Sundog Systems and a lot of things like that, I would say a lot of the 90s quote-unquote newer CoCo 3 games were probably, a lot of them took advantage of 512K.
Yeah, some of them required it and some of them took advantage, like say Photon, you didn't have to keep loading off disk all the digitized sound samples, which you did have to do 128K.
And
Rogue,
even OS 9, OS 9 also took advantage of it as well at the level 2.
Okay. And I would say a lot of the newer CoCo 3 games are also requiring that, although I know Timberman did not, right? So Timberman was a stock 128K game, but Popstar Pilot requires 512. A lot of Nick Marentes games require 512K.
Gatecrasher, Pac-Man, the transcodes, like
Donkey Kong Remix. So there's a lot of compelling reasons to get at least a 512K upgrade, and that's a fairly easy one because there's no soldering required. You need to clip a couple of capacitors, pull out your old chips, slap in a new one, and poof, you're at 512K. So it's a relatively easy hardware process, and there's a lot of software that will take advantage of it. The question then becomes, and this is possibly opinion, and it all has to do with your budget, but do I spend X dollars to get just the 512, or do I spend X plus Y and I get the 2 meg chip, even if I don't add the DAT board now? If I buy 2 megs today, it's already here, and later on I can add the DAT, add the cable, and then unlock the extra RAM. The price difference is negligible. If you're only doing it once, probably not a big deal. If you've got multiple CoCos and you want to upgrade a lot of your CoCos, maybe it doesn't make sense to spend $50, $70 per box. But what do you guys think? If you were going to just buy, if you had one CoCo and you didn't have 512K, would you spend a little bit more to at least buy the 2 meg board so you've saved yourself a step? Or, and this is more opinion than anything else, but what do you guys feel?
I would, because it's also at the same time when you do get your DAT board, you also going to be replacing the CPU at the same time because you have to desolder it anyway. So you might as well get the 639 upgrade and the DAT simultaneously, and then you can do a double upgrade on your computer at that time. You can get the 512K now, whether you have a 6809 or not, And then once you go to get the DAT board to upgrade to 2 meg, you can get the 639 at the same time, and you get the full double upgrade, and you're pretty well maxed out.
Yeah.
Oh, let me interject something. On the Boomerang 2 meg board, it includes the 6309 processor in there already. So
Oh, that wasn't just a CoCo Fest. That wasn't just a CoCo Fest promotion. That's a standard.
No, that is a permanent.
And what is the price of that? $49.
$49.
Okay, so for $50, you're gonna get 2 megs, that board, and a 6309. If you don't want to do all the desoldering and splicing, you could still just clip those two capacitors, plop in the 2 meg board into that little L-shaped slot. You're still at 512K. Later on, when you feel like desoldering, you then add the memory guarding and the 6309 CPU.
Correct.
How much does it cost to update to do the upgrade altogether?
If you send it to me,
labor-wise.
Yeah, labor-wise, if you send it to me, I do it for $75, and that also includes replacing the electrolytic capacitors, and I also clean the motherboard as well with the ultrasonic cleaner.
Wow.
And also, and what you do is you just ship the motherboard only. You don't ship the entire computer case. You just,
right.
It's very easy to take the motherboard out, ship me the motherboard, and I upgrade that, and then I send it back to you priority shipping, priority mail.
That's cool. It's a decent price.
Yes.
And to get so that's parts and labor, just not including shipping, or does that include?
No. Yeah, it's just the labor. So parts on top of that. So
so $75 is the labor for that, including the parts. So now you're looking at about $125 plus shipping.
$125. Yes.
Okay, still not a bad price.
For people who are not tech savvy, and not comfortable with soldering, I mean that's really a no-brainer. There's quite a bit, especially if you're replacing electrolytic capacitors and everything as well. There's a fair bit of work involved in that.
Yeah, I've actually got a video of Richard doing that to one of my CoCo 3s at the first Tandy assembly, where we kind of zoomed in on him desoldering in his process. He does a lot of work, so it's time consuming to give it all the TLC it needs to, remove it all and handle it well and clean it and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's not a bad price.
I think there one bigger question to this.
Yes.
Is it a process or a process?
Is it a process or a process?
You really like to color the debate here, don't you?
Yes,
it's a process in Australia.
Process.
Yeah, process up here too.
Well, it depends on the relative skill of the person doing it, whether it's process or process.
And Vegemite sandwiches are not included.
Yes, yeah.
Not even food, but anyway.
Yes. In the live chat, Salvador Garcia says he would go for the 2 megs because it does not make sense to get 512K and then find out the newest project requires 2 megabytes. So it's a personal preference, and some of it's going to be a financial preference. There's a lot of things in life where we say, I would love to have this, that, and the other, but I can only afford this. So if money wasn't the object, and if you've been saying like, yeah, I don't mind spending $100, $200 on upgrading a CoCo, then go for broke. I got really lucky. Both of my CoCos that I own, my CoCo 3s, were already, as I purchased them, were already what I considered to be the Mac Daddy CoCo thing, 512K and a 6309. That was like, to me, that's like the pimped out CoCo 3, right? So both of mine, when I got them, were pre-modded, pre-upgraded, and so out of the box, I've had what for the past 4 years of my life having this has been like the premier CoCo 3 experience, right? 2 megs now, Nitrous 9, especially ease of use, takes advantage of that. We are hearing about some games like Chet Simpson has mentioned his next project. He is going for broke. Grant Leedy has entered the waiting room. Do we want to let Grant Leedy in? I don't know about that. So Chet Simpson has basically said, my next game is going to require 2 megs, going to require 6309, and is going to take advantage of whatever sound card happens to exist. So there is the threat of a 2 meg game on the horizon. And so don't buy memory just for that. But there's if you can afford it, why not, right?
Well, you got to have 2 meg if you want to listen to the entire CoCoTALK theme.
That's true.
I was going to mention that too.
Yeah. So the CoCoTALK theme song without my annoying voiceover is available built into the ease of use Nitrous 9 distribution.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And honestly, Basic 09 programmers, you could load in a ton of graphics and stuff like get-put buffers because you're basically restricted by RAM only. If you want to load a 1.5 meg of different sprite shapes and background tiles and stuff and write a Basic 09 game that is just wicked with a whole bunch of different levels and stuff, you could go right ahead.
Yeah, you can also create a very nice RAM disk as well. You know, like 800K or something like that.
Hey, D. Bruce Moore is out there in the live chat, and D. Bruce Moore has recorded another track for us, and since he's there, we're going to go ahead and play that. So we're going to table this conversation for just a minute. So for those of you not aware, you know, Bruce Moore has brought us Forest of Doom. He has brought us CoCo Forever. He's given us, here's a little sampling of some Bruce Moore stuff. Bruce Moore gave us this. You guys hear that, right? Bruce Moore, he also gave us the incredible hit, Stuck in an Elevator. So let's just play the hits as we're counting down on the CoCo Top 3 Countdown. Number 2 coming in, it's Stuck in an Elevator. All right, now here's the latest from Bruce Moore, and it's called The Answer. Are you guys ready to hear the latest inspired CoCo musical production by multi-talented producer, musician, singer, engineer, talented guy, D. Bruce Moore? Are you ready for the latest hit single here? Number 1 on the countdown. You guys ready?
Yep.
Here we go.
Go for it.
When the CoCo group's immersed in drama, conflict in community, some have found the answer. Sound cards, memories, sometimes software, always personalities. We can find the answer. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. We can find the answer, let it be. And when the group starts fighting, we can turn on that green screen. Basic or assembly, sometimes C, sometimes C, sometimes C. Basic or assembly, there we find the answer. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. There we find the answer. Let it be.
Ah. Wow, that just makes me want to take a deep breath. Everybody, just take a deep breath. Are we all human? I'm human.
Yes.
Are you guys human?
I'm ready to spread my wings.
You ready to spread your wings? All right, so take a deep breath. We are all human here. That
was good.
That was great. That was Bruce Moore. Bruce Moore. All right, so I've taken a deep breath. I have remembered that we are all human here. Hopefully you guys do. Peace and love. Peace and love.
What's the question?
Hey, I wanted to add about that soundtrack, the one for Stuck in the Elevator. That was not Bruce singing. That was actually the real voices of people being stuck in with David Ladd.
Actually, we screamed a lot louder than that. We had to tone it down for the recording.
Yes.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Hey, Ed Snyder's out there. He heard it. He says, loves it. Hey, Amigos Retro Game is here. That's the guy who asked the question about 512. So hopefully you heard the answer to us, Amigos Retro Gaming. So basically, 512, I wouldn't say it's mandatory, but it's kind of the new standard, I would say, right? Minimum of 512 is the current CoCo 3 standard. 2 megs would be nice, not necessary. It'll become more and more utilized as time goes on. All right, so.
I'm curious about the Gimme X too. Will it utilize the 2 meg?
What's that now?
I was just curious about the Gimme X when it comes out. Will it have any way to utilize the 2 meg as well?
Well, Ed Snyder was watching us on YouTube. Maybe he can answer the question. I believe there was mentioning of DAT capability on the Gimme X, where instead of needing the DAT board, you can just plug those 2 leads into the Gimme X, and it would drive the extra RAM, and it should be compatible with all vendors.
Yeah, 'cause you can do the 2 meg upgrade using that without having to desolder the CPU.
Yeah. Okay.
Time,
yeah. So,
That's
but
nice.
I don't want to speak on behalf of Ed specifically, but I do think I recall him commenting on those questions earlier when somebody asked a question. So it might be something that's under consideration, but I can't really speak to the actual feature.
I can't either.
Yeah. I mean, we could.
I got a question.
But we won't.
Oh.
Yes,
I got
David
a question
O'Connor.
about the CoCo 3 RAM stress test that I'm running here in the background.
Yeah.
2048K RAM, 137 megabytes tested, and it's been running for an hour and a half.
Yeah, it goes forever probably.
Yeah, that suggests to me that
It keeps
This is-
retesting the same RAM. It does bit pattern tests and all kinds of stuck bit tests and shifting tests and stuff like that. So it's that's why you're getting megabytes of testing, even though you've only got 2 meg in the machine, because it's testing it.
yeah, I'm assuming it's been going up sequentially. It's up to 137 meg now, so I'm assuming it's going to test the whole 2048. So
No.
No. It's
2048K.
Yeah, this is how much memory has been tested. It's incrementing
yeah,
I asked the same question when I ran this test too. Yeah.
I just realized megabyte. Yeah, okay.
I know. You know the problem is we
Megabyte.
live in a time with gigabytes and terabytes, and so like kilobytes and
Yeah.
megabytes are so hard to wrap your brain around sometimes. So.
Yeah, I just realized I'm looking at 138 megabytes tested. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so
Yeah.
I can stop that test now.
Yeah, you can stop at any time at this point, I would say.
Yeah.
I was looking. I think it's going to take me 20 hours to test the whole 2 meg. But
Yeah.
it's already
It's
done
kind of
over
like-
and over.
There is a quick and dirty test that I also use just to ensure that it works. Is the Pac-Man tribute game that Nick Marentes did.
Okay.
If you run that,
Cheap knockoff that he did.
Yeah, that cheap knockoff that he did is if you run it and it goes through the play, if it goes through a single play, or round, then your memory board is most likely good. If there was any problems, you would see little ghosting dots that would show up on the play screen.
Okay.
I use DK Remix.
Yeah, well, another one too is like Sailor Man is the 64K test, right? How do you know if my CoCo runs 64K? Well, will it run Sailor Man? Then yes, you've got a good 64K, right? I
ran the 512K test on it before, and it passed that no problems too.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
As Richard mentioned, if you do the RAM drive, you can do up to a 1.6 meg RAM drive. Plus, you've got the operating system itself on ease of use. So if you set that, and I actually have the documentation how to set that up and initialize that and format it, and if that works and doesn't give you scrambled RAM drive, then that's a pretty good test of the 2 meg too.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, I wanted to add a little shameless plug. I didn't know when I was going to be able to do this, but sometime this past week, I had sold my 200th boomerang board.
Oh, wow.
All right.
And that's the 2 meg boomerang boards too, correct?
Yes, that's 2 meg, and yeah, they've been out since July of last year, and I'm surprised that I have sold this many.
So coming up on an anniversary, but in under a year, you've sold 200 units of 2 megabyte boards.
Yes, I was expecting maybe 75 to 100 initially, but 200 and still going is just really phenomenal. And I really want to thank you guys for the support and encouragement, and I'm really humbled by this this outpouring of support.
And this is a hint to Nick Marentes. You should do a 2 meg game, I think.
Yeah. So that means when you think about that, how many CoCo 3s are out there? Because people aren't buying 2 meg boards just to put on a shelf somewhere, right? So if you've sold 200 2 meg upgrades, and we don't know how many, well, the Cloud 9 2 meg hasn't been around that long, but just think about how many, 2
There's
meg
ones too, like 2
yeah,
meg
there's the
boards.
Disto 2 meg boards. There's other ones out there. There's a market. There is a market for 2 meg at this point. There's a market of at least 200 that we know of now, according to. Now this isn't. This is not inflated numbers, right? This is not.
No. This is real numbers.
Okay.
That's a real pro for writing software to support it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right.
Hint, hint. Also, I should mention Ed Snyder in the chat has said, "Yep, no DAT boards are needed with the Gimme X for 2 meg."
There you go.
You need to do the desoldering to get 2 meg.
There you go. Boom. Although you still might want that 6309. So.
But it'll still work with the DAT. Like I've got my upgrade now. If I put the Gimme X in, I wouldn't have to take anything out that I've done, or
you wouldn't need your DAT board.
You can probably just unplug the wiring from the DAT board that's going to your RAM and just plug the RAM right into the Gimme X.
So you'd still need a 2 meg memory board.
You still need a 2 meg memory board, but you don't need the DAT board.
Yeah,
right.
My question is there though. Can I leave the DAT board plugged in and just disconnect it, or is it better to take it out?
Richard,
it may or may not.
I think you can. Yeah.
It might not fit.
I know in the US version it does not fit, and but I don't know about the PAL version.
Ed, you really need to come on the show so we can ask you directly some of these questions. Come on.
I'm assuming the Gimme is not soldered.
No, it is not soldered. It's
Okay.
socketed.
It's a socket.
Even I could do it, maybe.
It takes it's recommended that there's a extractor tool that you use. You can use it with a screwdriver, but not recommended unless you are really careful.
Just a big square chip.
It's
right?
easy to break the socket, and that's fun to replace.
I've got one.
Yeah.
So
Would this work here? This little extractor that I'm holding up.
Yes.
Little clippy thingy. Okay. This one just came with the kit. I got an IC puller and an extractor all at the same time.
Why do you have it?
I have actually swapped gimmies. I have pulled ICs and I have swapped gimmies. So.
Oh, I thought you had it there so you could send it to me.
Yeah, the Gimme X has a adapter that plugs into the Gimme X socket, and that's probably one of the most the most expensive part on the Gimme X board, because those cost like $15 or somewhere around that neighborhood, and that's just wholesale cost.
Yeah, so the Gimme X is basically kind of going to be like the CoCo VGA for the CoCo 3, right? So VGA output, more features, artifact emulations and stuff. So it's an exciting time to be in the CoCo hobby with all these projects and all these.
And most of you guys missed it because Gary Becker, who is working on the project, had it for demo at CoCo Fest.
Yeah.
He didn't really advertise it because I didn't know that till afterwards.
I know. Right. It was almost like if you didn't like, you had to be, because it wasn't even facing out on his table; it was facing him. So he's sitting at a table with a screen facing him. So if you weren't walking behind the tables, you didn't necessarily know what was going on there. I caught a glimpse of it and took a picture, but I think it was Sunday when I figured out. Another thing too, it's like, what's his face was there? The software guy. What the hell is his name? Greg Zumwalt was there, right? So not a lot of fanfare over that too, but Greg Zumwalt kind of came by, and at least I said hi to him, and his wife. Stephen Hirsch was there, and I didn't know who Stephen Hirsch was the whole time because I didn't see his speaking presentation. He was just some guy walking around who I didn't know, and I didn't introduce myself, so I'm a schmuck. So there were things that happened at CoCo Fest that, there's a lot going on at CoCo Fest, though. No, that's cool.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I think you'd mentioned before, Stevie, too, that we had less seminars, and actually that was better because at least you had some time to go around and see the booths, some time to go see the people. So
yeah, absolutely. So we talked about it's 512 is good, 2 meg is better, right? It all depends on your budget and your skills and your needs. Have we beat it to death? Are we done talking about the logical side of memory, the pros and cons and opinions on it?
I think so. My recommendation is that 512 is a minimum, not just the standard, but the minimum at this point. There's too much good software that requires it. So.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Brian.
I was just going to make one comment to kind of spin off of what Boysen said there is, he sold 200 units, and that's just his product. There's other solutions out there, too. Mm-hmm. So how many total solutions are out there? So I'm a believer that, you build it, they'll come. So, I mean, obviously there's a market.
Oh, yeah.
For everybody.
I mean, just to give you some perspective, I mean, the best-selling CoCo game in the last few years is Popstar, and that's already been outsold by the 2 meg upgrade.
Wow. Yeah.
And that
Hardware
requires like soldering skills or paying for somebody else to do the soldering. So I mean, there's definitely demand.
That's what the software guys are for. They drive the hardware.
Mm-hmm. Now, does the boomerang include a sound chip or real-time clock, Richard?
No, not yet, but it could be.
It does have an LED.
Well,
Does
I
it?
also
That reminds me. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Richard. I was playing some games the other night, and the games crashed on my CoCo. And when they crashed, they lit up the LED in my E2 board. I had it happen more than once. I'm trying to play things off the CoCo SDC that just kind of shit the bed, and the screen went to the random text, and poof, lights come on. And I'm like, dude, how am I getting lights inside my CoCo? I've never seen this before. I forgot that I had done that upgrade because I haven't had my CoCo 3 on my desk since CoCo Fest. When I did the upgrade, I put it back in the garage. So I'm like, man, I got these lights. I'm like, oh yeah, it's that. So certain games will send random data to there and light up the thing. So I thought that was interesting. Sorry to cut you off.
Talking about that LED, how do we actually? What turns it on and off and changes its colors?
It's top secret, and for an additional $15, I'll let you know.
Talk to Rick Adams.
Actually, I need to. I have a cheat sheet. I need to really write up the docs for that. So, I really need to just hunker down and get those out. But what I wanted to add about the success of the sales is one of the things I think on at least my part is I added a lot of convenience for ordering because in the past, if you wanted to order stuff, you had to email the vendor and you went back and forth trying to calculate shipping costs and sending money. What I did was I made it all automated. You could go even on eBay. You could say, okay, I want the boomerang. It doesn't matter what part of the planet you are on. The shipping is automatically calculated. And then when I ship them out, you get notified and you can actually track it online in real time. Yep. So I think that was one of the contributions that actually added sales to it.
Convenience.
Yes.
And the shipping to Australia was super quick too. I was really blown away by how quickly it arrived. It was like 7 days or something.
Wow. Very cool. Very cool. All right. Have we beat the memory topic to death?
I can't remember.
Okay. We can't remember.
Let it be.
Let it be. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a break, and then when we come back, we're going to come back with some news. All right. So after this, we're going to get into news. And then, or actually, before we even get to news, we haven't gone over project updates, and Rob Inman wants to come back. Should we let him in? Yes. So yeah, we need to do project updates. So
Rob's
project
my neighbor.
Project
my neighbor
updates. Yep. After the break, we're going to come back with some project updates. We're going to run a commercial. So we've already run the boomerang spot. We're going to run a spot for some merchandise and for CoCo Forever. So this commercial break is going to be a little bit longer. It's going to be about 2 minutes to somewhere between 2 and 3 minutes. So we'll have time to go potty. So everybody, we'll be back after this. Take your potty break, get your snacks, refill your drinks, and we'll be back. And then we'll get into our project updates. See you then.
Hey, have you got your CoCo 3 yet? Hi, this is Rick Adams, author of Temple of Ram and Shanghai, and you've tuned into CoCoTALK, the nation's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy color computer.
What's going on, everybody? Original Gamer StevieStrow here, and if you're a fan of vintage computing and retro gaming, then you're going to love our retro swag shop at 8bit256.com. There you will find custom designs by Instagram artist Joel M. Adams. You can get I'm a Coconut, CoCoTALK, and other cool video game images on a t-shirt, coffee mug, or mouse pad. So if you love retro, then head on over to the retro swag shop at 8bit256.com today. Tell them the Original Gamer StevieStrow sent you.
The Radio Shack TRS-80 put the world of color computing into your home. Instant loading program packs turn any color TV into an exciting game arcade. And there's more. The color computer is an educational aid, a home management tool, and up-to-the-minute electronic information service. The programmable, expandable TRS-80 color computer from $399 only at Radio Shack, the biggest name in little computers.
Hi, I'm Bruce Moore, and this is Jacob Moore. Gotcha. And we are the Forest of Doom guys, and the CoCo Forever guys, and we're at CoCo Fest, and we love StevieStrow.
Imagine a different world. A world where Tandy Corporation has the upper hand. Where the CoCo surpassed all competitors. And all you have to do is travel back in time without making a single mistake.
CoCo Forever.
How does it feel? I'm still believing.
You definitely earned this office.
Yes, you're too kind, and thank you.
You want to grab some food before we head back and look at that Alt Reality OS9 module?
It's only 40 years past due, but yeah, sure.
How does it feel? I'm still believing.
Radio Shack, America's technology store.
Computer shopping has never been better at Radio Shack. Here's proof. Our new ultra-high-performance 386SX 20 megahertz computer with 85 megabyte hard drive, only $12.99. And it's from Tandy, manufacturer of the best-selling PC compatibles in America. Or get a 286-based Tandy home office computer with color monitor and hard drive, only $899.95. Shop your friendly nearby Radio Shack. Great selection, superior service. Nobody compares.
We now return you to CoCoTALK.
All right, and we're back. The panel is here. The CoCo Avengers are assembled. The community heroes are here. My heroes are here. Rob Inman, one of my heroes, is here. Richard Lorbieski, one of my heroes, is here. Alan Huffman, everyone's hero, is here. Grant Leedy, the villain, is here. David Ladd is here. Terry Steggy is here. David O'Connor. We have people here. We got Brian, the Music Man Schubring, is here, and we are back. We are going to get into project updates, acquisitions, and show and tell time. And Rob Inman, did you have some things you wanted to show and tell and share with us?
Yeah, it's up to Curtis when we want to talk about Radio Shack Basic. It's a Burke & Burke product that runs your standard basic programs in an OS9 window.
Or multiple ones of them.
Or could that be like a tech talk? Would that be like more of a core dump segment then?
Perhaps.
I think so.
Okay, so we'll do that as a core dump. Who else? Anybody have a project update, acquisition, show and tell thing they want to share? Brian Weasler, Curtis Boyle's raising his hand. Go ahead, Curtis Boyle. You have the floor.
Mine's a very brief one. I've been working on stuff for EOU, which I'm not going to talk about today, but a little problem, speaking of 2 meg, came up where somebody had downloaded the Clowns and Balloons from the archive, and it crashes on 2 meg. And that was because somebody patched it to detect if it was a CoCo 3 and then remap some of the MMU DAT registers manually, but they set it up to work on 1 meg or under only. I was hard-coded for that, so I patched it, resubmitted it. It's now available in the archive as well, and now it works on everything from 128K to 2 meg. I don't know if there's any others out there like that, if that same patch has been applied to other ones, but if anybody else hits that same problem with 2 meg board and some of those old games crash, let me know and I'll see if I can patch those too.
Yeah, that crash occurred on both 2 meg, the Triad Plus and the Boomerang, by the way.
Yeah, it's a different, unrelated to the the other DAT reading thing. This is just hard-coded.
This is just whoever wrote the software had a very limited imagination.
Yeah, they basically must have had a 1 meg machine, got it working on that, and then didn't have a 2 meg to test it on.
Okay. Hey, but there you go. You found it and you fixed it. Community at work here. One of our community heroes here, Curtis Boyle. Kind of the Hawkeye of the Avengers there, if you will.
Whatever the Avenger that solders his own hair is called, like Scarlet Witch or something. I don't know.
Solder Man. Who else has a little show and tell? Oh, Nick Marotta is raising his... Look at you. So polite, Nick Marotta. You're raising your hand. Go ahead, Nick Marotta.
May I go to the bathroom? No.
That never asked.
We had a question earlier from Alexander Wallace asking about joysticks. This ties in with my acquisition.
Okay.
One solution for joysticks, which I think is, it doesn't cover all the games, but a good majority of them, is I got this device from Boys on Tech, which allows me to plug in I don't know if you can see.
Yeah, we can sort of
See, this is the Paragon joystick adapter,
Okay.
which allows me to plug in a Sega compatible controller. So I've got this plugged into my CoCo 3. This is actually JVC made a Sega compatible system, so I happen to have one of those laying around, and I used the joypad, and it works really well with games that don't need the analog. So games like Popstar Pilot, DK Remix, games that just worry about up, down,
arcade
left,
style
right,
games. Yeah.
Versus, it's much better than even using a deluxe joystick.
Mhm.
Because it's
So
just
the big question is, Nick, have you made it past level 1 on Popstar now with that joystick?
Sir, you're breaking up. And I want to. I want to back up what Richard was saying. It was the ordering was easy peasy. I'm in Canada, so I was able to order it online. Got the shipping estimates, tracking, and it came packaged. Comes as a pair. So I've got the one plugged into my CoCo 3 back there, and then the other one just loose right now. Came well packaged, and it works really great, and I'm really happy. So that's one solution for joysticks, which I
Okay.
said will cover all your arcade type games, and I think it does work better than even the deluxe joystick.
Okay. And what's the other one?
The other
Or-
solution would be, I guess, John Strong's. He's working on joystick.
The analog adapters or a deluxe joystick.
And Neil Blanchard has a joystick adapter.
Yeah,
too,
Neil
I think.
Blanchard has the Sega gamepad adapter. You can get one with the box that supports 6 buttons, or without the box that supports 2 buttons. Right?
Yeah, I want to
The
clarify
Night
that.
Darker supports the extra buttons too. I think it's the first game that actually supports the extra buttons. Sorry, go ahead, Richard.
Oh yeah, I was going to clarify on the Paragon adapter on the Sega. It only supports 2 of the buttons. It's the B and C. Those are the 2 fire buttons on the CoCo 3 that it supports. And it's not just the Sega that it supports. It also supports any of the DE9 type connector digital ones, like the old Atari 2600 joysticks, the Wico or Wico, however you want to pronounce it, type joystick.
Yeah, that's a good. I didn't want to. Yeah, that's a good point. And currently on eBay, on Amazon, both in Canada and the US, you can get officially licensed Sega controllers that have the DE9 connector. They're
Right.
like
Yeah. So
$15.
yeah, it's those, and then of course the other choice is Neil Blanchard has his, which also it plugs in both joysticks, and then it has the serial connector if you want all 6 buttons on the Sega joypad.
Yeah. I've
Kind
got
of a question along that line there, where you talked about the Wico joysticks there with the Wico trackballs. Would you actually get that linear movement, or is it just going to give you an up and a down?
Honestly, I have not tried that, so I don't know.
Okay.
I've actually got one. I bought this at CoCo Fest. I got one of the John Strong analog joysticks. So this is a loosey-goosey analog joystick, but with better buttons. It's got like arcade quality buttons. This joystick is kind of like what you would find on maybe a remote control system for a remote control car or plane, or maybe a camera system, security system. It's a better stick. The one problem I have found is that when you get into the hard corners, you're missing a few of the readings in the corners, and that's the same problem I had with the like trying to use like an Xbox 360 controller on an emulator. I also missed some of the corners because some of these analog sticks are not. There was one thing that CoCo did well. They did analog controllers well, for better or for worse. And the games that took advantage of those, nothing beats a Black Beauty for certain games. And I think it's going to be hard to capture that pot the way the Black Beauty did it, because most of the ones that are being made now are for a different purpose, you know. So I don't know.
Did you try making that stick a little longer? Maybe that'd help.
Yeah.
No.
So really, there's not a one joystick fits them all. I think you really need an
Mm.
analog and a digital if you want to have the best of.
Yeah, and the problem is too is if you're buying off of eBay or from other sources, your mileage will vary on how well is the stick. How well has that stick held up over 30 years? Was it beat up back in the day? Was it garage kept? So
Was it flung against a wall and a rage quit? I think
yeah,
Stevie has
yeah. So I mean, I've got a number of Tandy Deluxe joysticks, and every single one of them has varying degrees of functionality. They all kind of work, but sometimes I got some with sticky buttons. Sometimes I got some where the sticks seem to have some drift in them, even when I've got my trim adjusted. So, it's just age and components and stuff like that. So, yeah, but new products are coming out. So like these digital joystick adapters are an option. Newer analog sticks are an option for sure. I don't think there is a single holy grail solution though.
Lots of joy everywhere.
Yes, happy, joy. Absolutely.
Oh yes.
Okay.
And I did get farther in Popstar Pilot with the digital joystick. I actually saw the red cave leading to level 2. So
nice. Nice. So who else has project updates? Who's got updates, acquisitions?
I've got a little update. A little while ago, I was talking about a recasing. Let me just swap over my camera here again. Go back to my crazy. I've got CoCos everywhere here. There's a CoCo. There's my other original CoCo with some more of Ed Snyder's brilliant work. This one here, that's the keyboard out of that is sitting up in this other thing I'm about to show. But this CoCo here, that's an NTSC CoCo. I don't yet have a CoCo VGA kit in it. I'm going to put one in it. And that is going to be put into this. That's yep.
Oh, how cool is that?
Yeah. It was on eBay. Was it on eBay? It was eBay. A Model 4 case there. It was all
where the 10 keypad used to be.
Oh, I've just put this. That's the Melty keyboard there out of the other CoCo one that I just showed before, which is sitting up.
But in the empty space, it's a good spot for a trackball.
Yeah, well, I'm probably gonna put one of Ed Snyder's keyboards in there. I just sat that in there just to simply see if it would fit, and it fits perfectly. So yeah, I actually purchased this a number of months ago, and I mentioned it on the CoCo Facebook group. But I purchased it interstate, and I had a friend in Melbourne, which is about 700 odd kilometres away from me, pick it up for me. And I'd just been waiting for him to find a box the right size. But it turned out last week I had a friend who was travelling down here from where I am in Adelaide down to Melbourne. And so he went down and picked it up for me. And as you can see there, it's in really, really good condition.
Absolutely.
It's hardly got a mark in it. So the next step here is to try and find a VGA monitor, which will fit in here.
Nice. CRT or flat panel?
Oh, I'm going to go flat panel.
Okay.
I'm going to use a CoCo VGA kit on it.
Mm-hmm.
And talking of joysticks, sitting on top of it there, that's my new old stock Craft Deluxe joysticks there.
Nice. For the CoCo?
Yeah. Yep.
Nice.
Does that case still have the drive tower in it? Yeah, it looks a little like it's been
That's I don't know if you can see that there. That's the case for it on the floor there. That's all the mounting for it.
Oh.
I don't have the front panels here. These are just blank slots.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't going to use them for drives anyway. What I'm planning on doing there is I'm going to put a CoCo SDC in it, and I'm going to have a few other little mods, reset buttons and meters and interfaces for my synthesizer. So that's all going to be custom panels put in those two spots there.
Wow.
So yeah, that's a project that I'm just about to start work on.
That's neat.
Keep us posted on that one.
David.
Don't forget to badge it.
Yeah, one of the things that would be kind of nifty if you had that set up so you could, if you did use real floppy drives, you could have a GoTech in there and a couple real floppy drives too.
Yeah, well, that's a possibility too. The other thing, actually, there's something else. I just took the keyboard out there.
Carlos Camacho, 64K RAM.
No, it's not actually a Carlos Camacho
Oh,
one.
no?
It came with the case. It's actually hadn't been stuck on yet.
That's a Tandy badge from the Model 4.
It's an original Model 4 Tandy badge. So
Cool.
Unstuck. It's still in the plastic bag. There,
Yeah,
not stuck on.
wow. Oh man, that is so cool.
Yeah, it was sitting underneath the keyboard. When I pulled it all out, it was like, oh, what's this in here? And it's like, yeah, that's a little bonus.
I thought maybe because they just knew you were upgrading it to a CoCo, so.
It's I've got the keyboard shroud too. That's really
Yeah, you got room there where the keypad could have been, where you could put something there. You might be able to squeeze your Mega Mini MPI in there.
oh, here it is. That's the actual keyboard shroud there,
Okay.
the original one that goes in. So if I got a Model 4 keyboard, I could actually put a Model 4 keyboard in there and
Yeah, other people back in the day did do that. They hacked the Model 3-4 keyboards into the CoCo.
Will it translate back to the CoCo properly? Do you need to remap some of the keys or something?
You have to do a little bit of finagling to get it to work. But yeah, there was an article in Color Computer News that actually explained how to do it.
Back in the 90s, I did it too in
Yeah.
the same case. I had a data terminal that I destroyed to put my CoCo in. And I used the Mark Data keyboard that fit in there and made my own bezel for it.
Plus, HJL, who makes that keyboard that Stevie's got, also sold a separate number jack, they called it. It was an actual numeric keypad that you plugged in separately from the regular keyboard, and you could have a numeric keypad on the CoCo, so that would probably work too.
I was contemplating going those routes, but what I think I will actually end up doing, I reckon I'm going to get another one of Ed Snyder's new keyboards and put that in there.
Okay.
So yeah, talking of that, he put some photos up earlier today, actually of some of the new color schemes he's got with his new keyboards, and the dark gray on like the enter key and
neat.
The other keys with the white, and it looked really, really nice. He's posted it up on the CoCo Facebook
Oh,
group.
I'm gonna have to find that.
He's got an alternate color one that's actually in my news segments today too. I'll show it later on.
Yeah. He posted about 3 or 4 different alternate colors. There was one with blue arrow keys.
The one I got
it
queued
looked
up.
fantastic.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I missed all that. I checked Facebook this morning, but it must have came after I checked. Wow.
Yeah. So there's always that option too. And the grey keys, the dark grey keys. I mean, I could maybe have to get in touch with him and ask him if he'd do an inverse one for this project, where I could put one of his keyboards in, but it would look more like a Model 4 keyboard. That'd be directly compatible. So
that would be interesting.
Yeah, it would be rather cool. So that's my little show and tell.
Neat. Very cool. Very cool. Who else? David Ladd was raising his hand. David Ladd, would you like to share your project update?
Yeah, so in regard to the joystick stuff, the mouse adapter has been built by Paul Fiscarelli and tested for the open source model, so he was able to construct it without any issues, from what I understand. So it's working out.
So this is your PS2 mouse adapter for the CoCo.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Very cool.
So it's so there are some design changes that I'm currently working on for another plug-in module for support later that might need to be added, and I need to change some of the hardware design to accommodate that change. But otherwise, yep, it's working.
Neat.
Somebody's gone nuclear green on the screen here.
Yes, they have. All right. Who else had a show and tell project update acquisition they wanted to share?
So that's Rob Inman.
Okay, who's breathing heavily again into the microphone? Okay, Rob. Okay, so Terry Steggy says he does. Brian Weasler says he does. Rob Inman, we're going to share your segment for a core dump, though, correct? Or is there something else?
I think that's the plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Terry Steggy, why don't you go ahead and go? If you had something you wanted to show off, you're muted.
Mine's quick. This pretty much shows my, I guess, addiction problem. If it says Tandy on it, I will buy it. It's a pager.
That's cool. Brian Weasler, I think you're muted right now too. You just unmuted. Okay.
Yeah, I got just a couple things here. Just one book that I grabbed. It was 55 color computer programs for home, school, and office. So just another little book to add to the collection there. Just a bunch of basic programs that are in there, and it's kind of interesting. Little tidbit programs. Probably 30 lines or less. So that was kind of a fun little one. And then I also picked up a person had a group of games that they had listed with a color computer, and I asked him if he wanted to sell the ROMs separately, and he agreed, and we came up with a price. And so I recently got these 7 games that came, and some of them I had, but some of them I didn't. But here's a good old color baseball, still with the plastic cellophane on it.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So that was kind of a fun little one. Galactic Attack.
Nice. Looking good.
So got that one there. Anybody's up for a good old game of chess?
Shall we play a
One
game?
of the original cartridges that first came out.
Yep. Quasar Commander.
Nice.
So we got that one there that came in with the box there. One I've never seen before. I haven't had a chance to play it yet. I want to. Is I've been
Dragonfire, yes.
So I haven't played that one yet. So
And that shows up well in the CoCo VGA too.
Oh, does it? Where? Very good.
Yeah.
Oh, more reason for me to go get one.
Yeah.
Starblaze. So that was kind of a one that I've been wanting to grab there.
Yep.
What's that? I'm sorry.
That's one of Greg Zumwalt's.
Oh, okay.
We were mentioning earlier that was at the fest.
Oh, okay. And then last one here is
Bust Out.
Bust Out there. So yeah. So yeah, that was my.
And Bust Out's written by Glen Soggy, who's one of the guys we interviewed from the Image Producers. So
yeah.
Oh, okay. Back in the time. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I got.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I'd just like to say to that note, because it's come up recently, like I know Nick Moretta was asking, what episode of CoCoTALK was it where you had interviewed Chris Latham of Donkey King? And it actually wasn't CoCoTALK. It was just a separate interview of just him. So I actually have a playlist on my, if you're watching me on YouTube right now and you scroll through the page, this is probably going to be easier to find on a computer versus a device. But if you scroll through my YouTube page, I've got a playlist that's called Retro Interviews. And we've got a lot of interviews. So this goes back years before CoCoTALK even started. But our first interview was Curtis Boyle, when Curtis Boyle and I first kind of met. So Curtis was my first interview. Then our first kind of celebrity interview was Rick Adams. And that was really good to hear from him for one of the first times since he's been back in the community. And then we got to talk to Dale Lear, which was great. And then we then talked to the Image Producers, which was a group of guys who developed some of the original software for the color computer. Matter of fact, they worked on the color computer when it was still a prototype. So they called that the executive wood grain model of the CoCo because it was on a piece of plywood. It was like parts on plywood that they were working on. The CoCo had not been manufactured yet, but they were developing software for it. So Glen Soggy was one of them. Who's the other guy? Al. Trying to remember all the names of the guys. Yeah. So some of the Image Producers were all there. So we've got that interview out there. So there's a number of interviews we did. We did with Chris Latham, who made Donkey King and Sailor Man and a few other games. So there are a handful of those interviews that are available on the YouTube channel. I will try to, as time permits, convert them to podcast episodes too. So if you subscribe to the CoCoTALK podcast, you can listen to them as audio or video too. Shouldn't be too much work to do that. But so that's a different channel, and it's not necessarily integrated into the CoCoTALK playlist. So you kind of have to know they're there to look for them. But just kind of wanted to remind people about that. Cool stuff. Who else? Anybody else have a project update they want to share? Ron Delvaux, anything?
Well, I did make another group.
Another Facebook group.
I don't have it up. Yeah,
okay.
It's just to showcase. I do a lot of high screen too.
The CoCo 3 images.
Yeah, images. And it's just CoCo 3 Gallery, it's called. And if you are playing with that new JPEG game program that I forget his name, the guy came up with.
Yeah, okay.
He's on there. Anyway, just go ahead and put your pictures up there. And then what's cool is if you visit the site and you go to picture or photos, click on that, then they all show up, and then you can click on one and get particulars on it. But
Okay,
it's
so you can look at the picture in high res on your modern PC. So obviously you're looking at a JPEG version of it on the computer. But then is there also a link to download it as a disk image if you wanted to run the picture on your real CoCo?
Yeah, I did that with one of mine, but
Okay.
other people, they can choose to do that or not. But
Okay.
At least you can see the result on what it looks like on a CoCo screen. But what's cool is you can take pictures off of your computer, convert them from a JPEG to a BIN file or whatever file that you can actually see it on your computer. It's pretty cool. Something new. You'll enjoy.
That program, the other program, the guy you were mentioning was it Image to CoCo 3 or something? I think it was called.
Yeah, something like that. I have to look for that.
I downloaded it earlier today. I'm going to experiment around with it. It was a pretty big download actually. It was like 212 megabytes. So there must be some sample images in there, I'm guessing too.
It's a GUI that you run on your PC, and then it converts a JPEG that you select and makes in a directory where you have the program all these bin files and a basic file. If you put them in a disk file, you have to remember to transfer the basic file as an ASCII so it'll actually run. I had a problem with it where I couldn't figure out what to do, but some thinking, I just put on the propeller and spun it, and I was able to come up with the idea of on win image, or I forget how you mentioned. There's a program that makes it's the MES program that makes disk images, DSKs. That program will allow you to import the basic file as a ASCII binary instead of a binary.
Okay.
An ASCII.
Is that the WinImage tool or something like that, or the
WinImage? That's it. Yeah.
WinImage tool or something. Okay.
Yeah.
So the program actually outputs a basic and binary file directly.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay. Like I said, I haven't tried it yet. I downloaded. I've got the exe on my phone. I haven't transferred it across the computer yet. But something I'm looking forward to having a bit of a play around with in the coming days.
Since you mentioned new Facebook group, I forgot about. I've also well, I guess the group has been out there for a while, but we never really did anything with it. But for those of you who follow CoCoTALK on Facebook, so we have a CoCoTALK Facebook page. But the problem with a page is it's hard to post on a page. It's easier to post on a group. So if you follow CoCoTALK, there is a group linked to the CoCoTALK page that's called I'm a Coco Nut. So yes, another CoCo Facebook group. One of the reasons why I thought it was important to have this group up and running too was that the primary Facebook group sometimes has felt a little bit unfriendly. And so I just figured there may or may not come a time when some people don't want to be on that group anymore. And I don't know if that's happened. I know a few people have publicly said, I'm kind of tired of this and I'm going to leave or I'm going to take a break or whatever. So I wanted to have another group as a backup just in case. Who knows? But it's just a group. It's out there. So if you search Facebook for I'm a Coco Nut, that's a group. Or if you go to the CoCoTALK Facebook page, there's a link to it there. There's also a link to it on imacoconut.com. So what I will promise on this page here is that we're just never going to let fires start. And so even though I am an admin on the other Facebook group, I don't really feel like I should be abusing my authority and letting my opinions affect a group of 2,000 people that I'm a latecomer to that group. I didn't start that group. I'm there. I could be making administrative decisions, but I don't. On this group, if people can't be polite, they're just going to be kicked out of the group. I'm going to have pretty much a zero tolerance for the insanity that can happen sometimes. So it's just going to be a safe place that you can post CoCo stuff and not have to worry about caca. So it's
you
out
mean
there.
I have to work on my people skills now?
Not necessarily. I mean, you've gone this far without it now, so it's out there. Anyway,
how's that coming along there, Richard?
Your people skills?
All right, it's going fine. Okay, just be quiet about it. All right.
Those people
I'm a
skills
people
are just
person.
Oh, Richard, shut up.
I love people except for Grant.
What else? Project updates, acquisitions, show and tells. Anyone?
Actually, I do.
Okay, because Richard has not spoken too much so far this show. Go ahead, Richard.
Yeah, actually, what I'm working on, let's see, let me go in the screen share again.
Oh, hold on. I don't know if I'm sharing. I might need to stop sharing. Hold on one second. No, I am not sharing. So go ahead.
Okay, so share, bring that up. Okay, so what I'm working on, I don't have the picture of the actual prototype. There's actually two things I'm going to be working on. Several people have bought both the Boomerang and the Triad Plus boards upgrades, and our cables, these go between the board and the DAT or MMUs, are different. So I'm going to make available what I'm going to call it the Boomerad crossover cable.
Okay.
Which will actually connect my board with Cloud9's or vice versa.
So if you have Cloud9 memory in a Boson DAT or Cloud9 DAT and Boson memory, either way, you can cross-pollinate the DATs and boards.
Yes, you can, and they can work.
Okay.
So that, and then the other thing I'm working on is with the speech sound cartridge. Seems to be a resurgence in that, and the problem with the speech sound, it was created when the CoCo 2 came out, and there was really no thought with the CoCo 3 in mind. And so if you plug the speech sound cartridge in a CoCo 3, sometimes it doesn't work, or if it does, it works on a different octave because it takes the clock signal from the CoCo itself. So it goes from 0.78 to 1.78 megahertz. So I am building a board that can be put into the speech sound cartridge that will automatically detect the clock signal and automatically adjust the speech sound cartridge without having having to do any kind of it's just seamless. In the past, people have put in little switches to switch between a CoCo 2 or a CoCo 3. This one eliminates it. There's no switches involved. You just plug it in. It doesn't matter.
Auto detects. Yeah.
It's auto detects and just does this thing.
Do you have to open up the case of the speech and sound pack and void the warranty to do this?
Yeah, it's going to require. Yeah, you're going to void your
Avoid
warranty.
the
And I'm going to try to. I haven't tested it out, but I might be able to put a LED in there too. It'll give you an indication what speed it's operating on. It's actually inspired from my old project I did about 30 years ago called Turbo Light. That I had it published in the Rainbow magazine, which detects the clock signal and it makes the LED, red or green depending on the clock speed. But that's what it's based on.
Okay. Cool
Great.
stuff. Cool stuff. All right. Anybody else? Project updates, acquisitions, show and tell, stories to share. Anybody want to talk about their feelings? Anybody? Anyone?
Well, I have an announcement.
Grant Leedy, ladies and gentlemen, the internet's own Grant Leedy. Please.
I'm happy to report that I was on the committee for the search for the new hotel for the CoCo Fest for next year. We have found a new hotel, and I think everybody will be very happy with the new hotel. It's going to be a major upgrade over the previous years. So as soon as everything is signed and finalized, I will release the dates and the location. Probably next week, looks like.
Okay.
Is there any kind of bird to touch or anything?
No.
Are you going back to Helsinki anytime soon?
There might be a few heads to buff. So if David Ladd's there, we can buff his head.
Replace the Heron with David Ladd's.
Yes.
Any elevators at this new location?
Yeah, actually there is. It's only 2 stories though, so it's not too bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't matter how many stories. If you're stuck between floors, you're just stuck.
Yeah. Jim Gerrie's mentioning his type-in mania. I do have that as a news article we will get to if I can ever get these guys to shut up, Jim. I'm sorry. I'm supposed to be working on my people skills. Cool. That's cool. And you were at the Glenside meeting on Thursday while I was playing CoCo games. Ken Reichert wants to know, is there a free breakfast? I want waffles. Priorities. Ken's got his priorities.
Well, I am also on the food committee too, so we'll be working on that as well. So more to come on that. More to come.
There more to
Throw a
come.
box of Eggo at him. Throw a
That's
box of
the
Eggos at him.
the
And
internet's
we'll
own.
make sure there is plenty of food for Rob Ingman too this year.
Okay. Rob Inman. Okay. Very cool. Thank you for that update, Grant Lady. So we're gonna move over to our core dump here. Rob Inman, I mean, we're not gonna do it just yet because we're a professional show. We'll do a little intro graphic here, but are you gonna be ready for taking a dump with us here, Rob Inman?
Yes, I believe so. I have a video to share first.
Okay.
Hopefully, I'll be able to talk over the video, and we can go through that. That just kind of will show you kind of the capabilities in getting a basic program up and running in OS 9, a Radio Shack basic program running in OS 9, and then I have a live demo showing kind of the upper end of the capabilities of running. I think I have 5 different basic programs running at once, and so we'll do that as well.
All right, so we're gonna cue the intro graphic here, and then we're gonna go back to Rob's segment here. All right, guys, get ready for a core dump with Rob Inman. He's gonna show us some stuff on the CoCo. You're gonna love it. And take it away, Rob Inman. Take it away, Rob. You should be able to share.
Didn't we have a... Oh, there we go. The core dump video played?
Yes, the core dump video played. I did not share. I can't share sound because then you wouldn't be able to share your screen.
I see. Well, I was waiting for the flush.
Yes, the flush flushed. There's another flush for you.
So...
See, I'm not sharing sound. You can't hear it. Okay.
Sure. So before I get to the sharing of the video, Curtis, I don't know if you know any history of the program or you wanted to kind of give any background on that. I can certainly do my best, but since you knew Chris Burke and you might have a little bit of detail, did you want to kick it off?
I'll do a little bit of detail. I mean, I actually haven't run it in decades, so I don't remember too much about running it. But basically, Chris Burke had a lot of requests for people that were trying to do the transition from Disk Basic to OS 9, and some people didn't want the learning curve of Basic 9 because it is, while it's very powerful, it's quite a bit different. So as a transition product, he actually patched the ROMs so that you could run an actual image of the Disk Basic and Super Extended Color Basic ROMs within OS 9 as a process. And you could run it multiple times in different windows, so you could run 5 or 6 basic programs at once. And it was also the basis for what he did for the TC9, because he made a version of the TC9 basic that you actually made a bootable floppy based on CoCo 3 ROMs, and then had to patch the keyboard for the AT keyboard and the 8-bit joystick and 8-bit sound and everything else. So he did the same thing on the TC9. Basically, you'd boot up and you could run Disk Basic programs under the TC9. So that's a little bit of the background story.
Okay, so let me try to share this video, and we'll show you some basic program running in Windows, unchanged. Let's see here. I can share Windows Media Player, and let me know if you can both hear me and see my video.
I can see it. I'm not sure if the audio is here yet. Make sure when you're sharing, you hit the advance and hit also share system sound.
I will.
Or are you just going to talk over the video? I'm not sure what you're.
I'm going to talk over the video. There's no sound.
Okay, so we hear you then. I hear your microphone and Perfect. I do see your video. Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to play it. So what you're looking at is a screen, obviously, of the SGC Explorer. I have selected, actually, just before the broadcast, I did a random game, and this one was called Flipper, and I mounted it in Drive 1. And you'll see here in a second, I'm going to go back to, I'm going to mount that by hitting Shift 1. And then I'm going to go back to the Nitrous 9 startup file and launch Nitrous 9. So it is mounted. And, you know, generally you can get in and out into Nitrous 9 with your basic file mounted in Drive 1 pretty easily. Now we're all going to have to pause here because it's going to ask for the system time.
No, if only, if only. Where's my real-time clock? Yes.
I don't get a good answer when I type that in, but all right, we'll go back like an animal. We're gonna type in the actual date here.
The inhumanity of it all.
Yeah.
And there'll be a little pause here because I'm actually, well, you won't be able to hear it, but I actually play a little Windows chime that Curtis has on the ease of use build. It's my root.
Yeah, the Windows
95
starting Windows.
Well, that's yeah, Curtis. That's Curtis's.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
It's literally starting Windows. Actually.
Okay.
It's opening Windows.
OS 9 boots Windows, huh?
Yeah.
And this here is a long pause, so you can just relish in the fact you had to type in the time.
Yes.
Yeah. Now it's still loading the Windows environments. I switched over and I can type ahead in a new window. I list a little script I have called VDG window, and I'm flipping around here, but basically, ease of use won't automatically set up a VDG window, so you have to either do that or add it into your startup file. But once you do that, it's automatically gonna open that at boot, and you'll see I have a VDG window open. Now, you remember we selected that game Flipper, not Basic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to type in a command here to look at that in drive 1, and you see it's right there.
Wow.
Now I want to move that. I do have to move that over to the OS 9 environment. So it's a fairly simple command to do that with RS-DOS. You'll actually get quite good at it. And so this is going to copy Flipper from the RS-DOS, disk
image. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. DSK image over to the current directory of ease of use.
Now, does this work on binary BAS files or just ASCII or both?
Well, the RS-DOS command?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I mean RSB itself. I'm assuming.
Oh, RSB. So RSB, I haven't checked a pure binary file, but it should. Now, you and I know there is some optimization changes that you have to do within RSB to run binary code. So we're not going to focus on that probably today. Well, we will in a minute when I do the live demo. But you can see I can do a directory command from within RSB, just like it'll show me.
Yeah,
all the
this
OS
is like
9
RS-DOS
commands.
in OS 9.
Yep, I loaded
And you
this
notice that
game.
commands in lowercase work, which don't work on the actual RS-DOS basically.
Yep, you can use any combination of upper or lowercase. I loaded it just as I would any normal basic program. I'm just showing you obviously the basic code here, and I'm just going to run it. So I don't know if the rest of you can hear the sound or not.
No, we can't hear the sound.
That's fine. There is a little bit of sound, but no sound chip. So
no real-time clock either. So
yeah, no real-time clock.
0 for 2.
So anyway, this is the game, and it's running pretty much the same way it runs on standard basic. Now the color's changed, so there are some tweaks that you need to do here and there, and part of the fun of it is just kind of figuring out, okay, what changes to make, and you learn a little bit about basic, you learn a little bit about OS 9, and you'll get to take advantage of some of the speed improvements under the optimizations that Curtis has done under Radio Shack Basic. So under ease of use. So what I'm going to do here is show you a couple of other programs that I recorded just to make sure that everything would work right, and then we'll do a live demo here in a second. This is opening up a CoCo 3 program. Now, CoCo 3 program, you will not run from a VDG window. You'll run from a traditional OS 9 window, which automatically opens in ease of use when you start it up. So I loaded up this program called Circles, and it's very short. You can see what it is. No changes. And we're going to run that.
Okay, so it's just drawing circles, H circle, H paint, things like that. Yeah, so it's circling and painting. Okay.
Yep, and you can see the other programs. The other program's still running in the other window, by the way. It's called multitasking.
Yes. So you can now hit the clear key and switch between running basic programs.
Yep. And we're not done. Let's go ahead and run this other. Let's open another window.
I think that Nick Marionettes was correct when he said this is the most advanced operating system ever created.
Well, sometimes Nick, like somebody who's drunk, sometimes the truth comes out.
There's your 2 meg.
And it's very quick
I'm
too.
barely using the 2 megabytes. So this is another little graphics thing, visual. I'm just showing you. You can also list it in 80 columns.
Uh-huh.
You can see the whole program. And now we're going to run this. Now this one starts doing. This is a little fancier, so it's going to do some drawing here. Pretty comparable in speed to the what it would do under Disk Extended Color Basic. Although I haven't done a side-by-side test. Curtis and I are going to look at that in the future. So while that's drawing, let's just flip over and, this is recorded. So who knows what I was up to. I think I was, let's see if I can skip ahead so you can see what that drawing program looks like. Okay, so now you can see, well, let's go back to the circles. You can see those are kind of going to town.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the other window. This is all happening at the same time.
This reminds me, like, this is like Windows 3X now. This things we did back in then. These little demos that you could switch between. Yeah.
Oh, this was me. I was playing around here trying to open more VDG windows. We can skip past that. And I think there's another thing where I'm flipping. Okay, yep. And you can see that's running. And
right now, Nick Marentes is flipping a finger because we're talking about OS 9. So
I know. And I don't know if I show it, but we'll show it in the live demo. That spinner window actually starts moving very fast. So I'm going to pause here, and we're going to switch over, and we're going to do it live.
We're going to do it live. All right, live demo here on CoCoTALk. Who would have thunk it?
Yeah, these always go well.
Nothing could go wrong. So let's go. Okay. So you can see that program, right?
Yeah, this is live now?
Yes, this is live. Let's go to how's my audio? Okay.
Other than your voice, it sounds great. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean.
One thing I should ask just quickly before we go any further, like stuff like auto key repeat, that works under RSP too. So if you hold down a key, it actually repeats.
Yes, it does. I believe. Let's do it live.
Do it live. Look at that.
There you go.
Huh.
Look at that. This is a whole new way to do basic.
SN error. Wonder why.
So Curtis, let's go back to the startup screen here. So this is a screen that you're very familiar with, right? The ease of use startup screen. I made some changes to it, so it doesn't look exactly like what other people see, but it's the same color. You can see it's running. It's you've got your commands. Everything's running as it should.
Yep.
Now, in this window, I have opened a high resolution Radio Shack based RSB program, and I've loaded that circles program we saw in the video. On this is another video. I've loaded the spinner program where that was starting to create that little spinner shape.
Mm-hmm.
On this VDG window, I've loaded the flipper game that had that kind of that chart, that board game kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
On this window is a program called Darts, I believe by somebody that we know. Or is this Darts or... Anyway, it's a Ken Reichert game.
Ken. Spoiler alert.
And this one's something called bowling. So what we're going to do is, and I would like to remind everybody that ease of use is a beta operating system. So we are going to start running all of these simultaneously. So let's go to the circles command. Now we're just going to run that. Okay, so we saw that before. So we're going to flip over to this window, and we're going to run spinner. Okay, so that's gonna proceed with doing the drawing there. So while that's happening, let's run flipper. And we'll wait for that to draw the P-Mode 3 screen. Oh, all right, we got a first error.
You ran out of RAM or what?
I don't know, but let's continue. We're going to run this other program here. Now, I'm obviously running all of these at once, so it is going to slow down. So you saw that it was much faster before. So we are kind of... And of course, the reason why this is a little bit slower is because those drawing programs are continuing to draw in the background.
Yeah,
whereas
those are all ROM calls.
Yep. Whereas most... Okay, well, this is asking for my level. I'm going to switch over to here because I'm going to run a bowling. I just want to run everything. Okay, that one didn't work. Okay, don't look at that.
This is live demos.
This is all live. So we see our circles are still running. We've got the spinny thing. That's going to look, when that gets to the end, you're going to see that. That's pretty impressive. Oh, it's starting to spin. That's an error. We've got Ken Reichert's game here. Let's continue with Ken Reichert. Let's go level.
I'd like to take Ken Reichert to block, please.
Let's go to level 50. Let's go to level 50. Oh, okay. Let's continue.
I'm guessing at this point, because VDG screens all come out of the 64K system map, that you're probably running out of system RAM.
Yeah, it was an ambitious
program's running fine.
You know, so you probably won't load all these at once, and I'm going to blame all of this on Curtis.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, everybody does.
I second that.
Curtis, you really got to get on this operating system and fix it. But
pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Yeah, well, why don't we do it this way? So while these are running, you know what? I'm gonna get out of this. I don't know. Let's say I want to run a. How do I run a Sierra game? Oh, I can't run it in 2 megabytes. Never mind. I was gonna show you that.
Ken Reichert says he feels defamed because his program's not running.
All right, well, let's run.
Actually, just do an M map in one of your windows. I just want to see how much
okay, sure.
memory you're using it currently with all this running.
Oh, this is going to be in 40 columns, but yeah, there you go.
Yeah, still got 1.5 meg free. And try S map, because that'll show your system RAM, and that's where all your VGG screens are coming out of. Yeah, that's where you're running out of memory.
All right. And while you're talking, Curtis, guess what's happening? I'm still doing circles here. Oh, guess that's going on.
Ah, look at that.
That's cool.
But you know what? I feel like continuing to work on improving the terrible Curtis Boyle quote here. So what's the
best promotion we've ever had?
What's a VDG game that will work on 2 megabytes, Curtis?
Well, Rescue and Fractalus, Chronos Rift.
They're not VDG though; those are CoCo 3 games.
Now, do you have enough system RAM for this? We'll find that out, I guess, soon.
Okay, so is it Rescue?
Yeah, you'll have to be in the directory with the proper data files it needs, though.
Oh yeah, okay.
Which is in games, I think, if it's on. You're running beta 4 release 2.
Beta, yeah, the latest. Yep.
Okay, so go to games, and then I think it's called Rescue or something.
Oh, this is games. Oh, I see. Okay, here.
Look at you with all your OS 9 commands here.
There you go. Okay. Guy, please
excuse me. What's manhunt?
That's the Grant Leedy special.
You've heard of Grinder, right?
Grinder. OS 9's got its own Grinder app called Manhunt. Ooh.
Wipe left.
Okay, so I should change the direction. Change it to Fractalus here.
Yeah.
Okay, /frac.
Frack this fracking game.
we're multitasking in CoCoTALK as well. We're going to After Dark as well as CoCoTALK.
we just switched to the parallel universe. Yeah. So.
Oh, by the way, we're still spinning, everyone.
We are.
And then we can.
This is even possible.
And then you type Rescue, I think, is what the name of the executable is.
Oh, hey, Ken Reichert says to Nick Marentes, would like to state that my game works fine without OS 9 mucking things up.
Yeah, I would like to say that Ken Reichert's game works fine under in fact, it works as well under OS 9, but I was running too many.
Yeah, you've got too many VDG.
You got too many VDGs.
Okay. All right.
Now, is it actually still running, or is it just keep that active?
No.
And I mean, it's running, but when you switch the screen, does it pause that for a moment? And you just come back to where it left off, or is it still building?
It's still running.
It's still running.
That's why the CPU is stuttering a little bit.
It's actual multitasking.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Now, if you're running, if you want to play Rescue Fractalus on one window and you're doing a sled editor or you're doing something that's not, spinning, you're not going to get the same kind of slowdown. So you can actually do, a production environment or play a game in a window. So here we are in Rescue and Fractalus. Let's see how this works here. I'm going to select RGB.
Oh, look at that.
Look at this.
Oh,
Oh, still running. Okay, it's slower.
Slowed down a little bit, yeah.
Slows the CPU quite a bit, I should warn you.
It's walking.
We are multitasking.
Now you can set priorities for each individual process. If you want one to have a little bit of extra CPU time and another one to have a little bit less, you can actually adjust that on the fly too.
It's in sloth mode. That's what it is.
Does it start singing Daisy when it gets to?
And the sound routine in OS9 is actually shutting, multitasking down between notes too. So we get past this stupid intro thing.
Oh yeah, that's why it has all the intro sound. Yep.
So hit a joystick button and you should be able to get past that.
Yep. But if let's say what I want to do. Oh, it's still working on the sound here.
Multitasking at the speed of smell.
Now, one nice thing about doing it this way is that if you have a text editor in another OS9 window, you can run one of the screen editors to edit your basic source code, and then you just load it in your RSB, so you don't have to use the edit commands and stuff. You can actually use it.
Nice.
Well, Curtis, we're getting a few snide remarks about speed here, so I think we're going to restart it and just show you what it's like in a single window.
Snide remarks when it comes to OS9. When did that ever happen?
I think as soon as we let Nick Regis into the room, basically.
What are you doing, Dave? My mind is going.
No, I haven't even opened my mouth yet.
We have to play Let It Be.
Oh, is this where we play Daisy now?
Yeah. The red light has just come on really bright on my CoCo 3.
And to be honest, I mean, watching what we're multitasking there, I'd like to see you take a Windows PC that runs at 2 megahertz and see how well it does.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm impressed.
When there is no such thing as a Windows PC that runs at 2 megahertz.
Yeah.
My point exactly.
Yeah.
Windows, maybe original Windows or Windows.
No, the first PC ran at like 4.77.
4.77. Well, no, Windows wasn't running on a 4.7. It was at least a 12.
286.
286, yeah.
So we're going to move over and show you Ken Reichert's game actually working this time.
You're not going to have this OS9 thing muck it up now, are you?
Yeah, you can run a lot more CoCo 3 type stuff there because of the way the memory map for the VDG stuff is done, and that's to remain compatible with level 1, which is why that was happening.
Game's darts, right? I think. Oops. Oh, wait. No, that's not the game. Wait.
What's a HR error? Never seen a HR.
High-res print error. That means it's trying to run a CoCo 3 style
okay.
screen on a CoCo 2 style window.
Okay.
Game. Oh, trash. Yeah, that's the game.
Why would you be referring to Ken's game as trash?
I think that's what it's called.
Okay.
That's what Ken refers to it as.
Load that trash in there then, Rob Inman. And run that trash. Run trash.
This is trash talk.
Okay. Interplanetary Trash Collector by Ken Reichert. Copyright C, 1992.
And Ken's got a comment for us. He says, prepare for disappointment.
Watch and learn, Ken.
That's our constant level on this show.
Look at that drawing, huh? Now I completely can't understand the game. but that's not my job.
Knockoff?
That start screen drew really quick too.
Yeah. So I guess there's like the holes and the squares. I'm not sure which one is which. Circles and squares.
Ken, explain what the heck's going on here because I don't know. I don't have any clue.
Yeah, I think it's a poor design.
For starters, why is there a black background?
I don't know.
With a green.
That's how it looks in RS-DOS.
This is a CoCo 3 program.
CoCo 3, yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no worries. Well, it has to be. There's a black background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at a P Mode 4 game here. Oops, if I can get out of this. Oh, thanks, Ken, for capturing the break key.
Yeah. Just do Control Delete.
No, you can just go to another window and kill the process.
I can't. I literally cannot get out of it.
Can you hit clear? To another window, you can kill the process from another window. Just type proc and then find out which one is RSP.
Kill the process there, Rob Inman.
All right, so let's get back.
A process and a process.
Yeah. Ken says, avoid the asteroids and the planets and collect the red trash bins. So,
well, that cleared it right up.
I mean, we don't have. How much time do we have, really?
we're only 2.5 hours in, so it's a short show so far.
All right, so let's look at a P Mode 4 game.
If you're not happy with the game, you can ask for your money back.
So, are any of these trash cans on fire?
Did you see how this is drawn?
That's really
that
quick.
was really
That's
quick.
fast. Yeah.
This is basic.
This is fast.
That's super fast. Far out.
So if somebody wants to take their RS-DOS basic game and run it in OS 9, this shortens the curve completely.
Well, as a test, let's boot up RS-DOS and run it at the double clock.
Okay.
And let's compare.
All right. Well, before we do that,
We'll play this first so we see the speed. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to have to get going. I'm going to have to get going very shortly.
All right, David, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for the stuff.
I'm just going to watch this comparison first, though. So,
There's something about OS 9 that scares away Australians.
They like things simple. Let's
do one other thing.
They're single taskers down under.
Now, this will cause some problems, and we're working on it. But I do want to show you the opening screen.
Oh.
So we're gonna load. It was supposed to be water edit, but it ended up being watered. Nick. Anyway.
All right.
So this is a familiar game. Well, it. I know why. Hold on.
An HP, that's a problem.
I want to show you the waterfall. Hold on. This needs to be 16K.
Down, 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 down. Don't go chasing waterfalls.
There's your animated water.
Nice. Look at that.
That's not the actual game, the waterfall in the game. That's just the title page.
Yeah.
Well, this is as far as I can get, Nick.
Ah.
Yeah, we have to figure out how to do that memory mapping stuff because it maps the screen different.
Yeah. So do you want to describe, because I think most people have seen the waterfall at this point, the actual game. Curtis, do you want to explain, since this is a core dump, what we were trying?
What I think's going on?
Well, what Nick has done is done double buffering. Now in RSB, you can run memory machine language routines that fit within the maximum 24K memory location. There are some commands that will tell the program where to execute. It will tell it where it is in memory and relative to where OS 9 has put the program, right? So we are looking at converting Waterfall into OS 9, and some of the double buffering screens aren't working currently, so we may have to switch those to get put buffers. Did you want to go into any more of that, Curtis?
Yeah, to be honest, I have to go through the RSP manual a bit more because, like I said, I haven't used it in 30 years. But basically what happens is that OS 9 assigns the graphics screen in your system task to wherever there's room at the time you try to run it, which can vary depending on how many other programs you ran in the meantime. And BASIC itself, BASIC, normally wants it always to be at 400 hex, which is not always what happens. So it mentions in the manual that if you want to do some stuff that's directly writing to the screen, you have to basically call an OS 9 system call to figure out where is the screen for me right now, and then change your code to basically go to that new address. And we have to figure out how that works first. there's some possible other techniques that we might be able to use too, but I have to go through the manual in a bit more detail. But right now, what Nick's doing is he's creating a second screen that he draws on, and then once he's finished drawing on there, then he block copies it onto the viewable screen, so you're not watching it draw the little pieces over top of each other, so it looks nice and smooth. And right now, he's trying to copy it to where BASIC normally has it at 400 hex. And in OS9's case, it could be somewhere completely differently, so it doesn't do anything because it's writing somewhere you can't even see. So that's what we got to fix on Waterfall.
It's just a cheap knockoff, yeah.
Short answer is it was a poor design in the game.
And the other thing you haven't mentioned is that copy that you're running of Waterfall that I sent you yesterday is the new version. No one's you can't download that one as yet. I'm still finishing it off. So this is essentially a version 2. So it's got a few extra features, and the first thing you can see there in the top right, it says music on. So in the second version, you can actually press the M key. Does the M key work now?
It does not.
No. So, but the M key would turn the background music playback on and off. So in case you get sick of hearing the music playing in the background, you can actually turn it off and just play the game with just the voice. So this will be a version 2, which I'll upload in the next week or so. It's just a few things I want to change.
And this one also, you've got it down to just needing 16K to run, right?
Yeah, that's the other thing. The original game, I just wrote it on my CoCo 3, which is, essentially is a 32K of RAM space, I guess. So I decided, much to a lot of pressure from Curtis, to convert it to run in 16K for those people who have a 16K CoCo 1 and 2. So this version will run in 16K.
Okay.
And it's better for the OS9 port. So thank you, Nick.
Well, it's easier for RSB as well.
Okay.
So but I've still got a few things I might change on it before I upload it. But either way, it'll still be a cheap knockoff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey,
now, one thing I want to point out, because the manual in RSB had mentioned that it uses OS9 system calls to do some of the I/O stuff, like loading up disk and that kind of stuff.
You have to use.
I thought it would be doing the graphics that way, but from watching your CoCo 3 graphics demos you were running earlier, it's using its own routines, because like the circle command in Disk Basic actually draws going around in a circle. It starts at one point and then goes around. Whereas the ones that are built into OS9 itself are actually smart enough to calculate the point once and then do the 4 quadrants simultaneously, so it draws much faster. And it looks like RSB is actually doing it the old way, so they're not calling the graphics routines necessarily that are optimized. So I don't think you're getting the full speed up if they had been, but it wouldn't draw the same if you did. So I guess
it does say in the machine language portions, you do have to use OS9 system calls for all I/O.
Yeah. So like disk I/O, like loading and saving, and
yeah, that's how I interpret it. Yeah.
But it looks like the screen stuff is still being done locally through the RSB, basically the ROM code that it's copying over and patching.
So if you're using hdraw or any of those H commands, isn't that going into graph drive or one of those?
Doesn't look like it from what I saw there. It's actually, he's doing it directly himself.
Can I just interject here real quick? I am interested by this, but I'm also, just to let you know, if it's possible, if we could wrap this show up in about a half an hour. My wife's cooking. I can smell it. It's making me hungry. So
rage quit for food, folks.
Yeah. So because we still have news to cover and stuff too, and I don't want to rain on your parade, but I didn't know how much more you have left, Rob Inman, to go over this. Okay. Because we still got to squeeze in news too. So just planting that seed.
This is just a preview of RSB. We'll get a bit more into detail.
Okay. No, I mean, I personally think this is cool because, it's like I don't really want to put my foot into Basic 09, but I wouldn't mind dipping my toe in the shallow end of something like this. So, I think this is cool.
Yeah, I'm having fun with it. I'm learning a little bit about each of the operating systems, and I'm learning a little bit about the assembly code. And if you're willing to share your Cosmic Aliens stuff, Kurt, Stevie, I'd love to play around with that as well.
There's a lot of proprietary, like, next level shit going on in there, so I'm just not sure that I could, but yeah, we'll see about it.
There's copyright issues and all kinds of stuff.
Have your people talk to my people. We'll get some NDAs going, and we'll see what happens. So yeah.
But this is how fast it runs with no optimizations, and really no development, and running on a beta operating system. So imagine, what you could do later.
Nick,
so let's look at
Can you make a copy of Cosmic Aliens, Nick?
Hey, he could probably do a cheap semi-graphic knockoff. I'm sure he could. Yeah.
I'm the king of knockoff.
You got some pesky NDAs to get around.
Yes.
Let's just quickly look at those two games, darts and.
This is not looking at it. Let's look at the bowling one. The bowling one went really fast.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see if the bowling one is.
I'm hanging around.
I don't know if I could. You know what? I don't know if I could find it because it's on a rainbow on disc.
Oh,
so.
it's on a whole thing. It's on a whole.
Yeah.
Okay, so go to darts then, or no, go to Ken Reichert's other one, his trash.
It's his trashy game.
Ken Reichert's trashy game, yeah.
The Reichert trash.
Yes.
Okay. So you kind of remember how that ran. Trash. Okay, I found some trash.
Okay, run that trash.
All right. So I can't tell the difference, quite frankly. I think it might.
That screen seemed to load a little quicker.
A little bit, yeah. Tiny bit faster. Yep.
Yeah.
And
that seems a little faster too. This
yeah,
seems faster. Yeah.
But that's only because Curtis hasn't optimized everything. Get right on that, Curtis.
Yeah, Curtis.
I have to optimize RSP itself.
That's right. But it's very comparable, and I obviously will do some actual side by sides, and I'm sure that some things will run faster than others.
Yeah. Your mileage may vary.
Yeah, we couldn't. Pity it wasn't easy to find that bowling one, because that was really impressive how quickly that loaded.
Yeah.
Yep. It's on the rainbow on disc, and I have a
so
copy of it.
does it, because it's an OS 9, does this mean that it automatically switches from floating point to integer variables, or is it still doing floating point?
No, he's still doing floating point. What I understand, he basically takes all the ROMs in the CoCo 3, makes a process that has them built in, and then just patches them so that disk I/O and stuff goes through OS 9, and the rest of it's all just running basic, just like basic runs on standard DOS.
Okay, cool.
Hey, that 3 Amigos screen, how do you get that to come up on the CoCo 3?
Control Alt and reset. Which it won't work because you don't have a keyboard in there yet.
I was just going to say, I've got to wait for Ed Snyder's keyboard to arrive.
Fedor's trying to get back in the call.
And Stevie, as far as the news goes, I've got some new stuff queued up. It sounds like you do too. How do you want to do this?
Not a lot. I mean, if you want to, I guess I could probably go first, and then I'll hand it off to you.
Okay, and then I'll just take the ones out because it sounds like we have some duplicates too. So once you do yours, I'll pull them out of my list.
All right. So I'm gonna stop sharing here.
Okay.
How do I do?
I can see Stevie's lips watering over supper here, so that's why.
I'm smelling chicken and corn, dude. It's just got me going, man.
Oh wait, what am I doing? I don't think I'm sharing.
You are sharing. We still see it. Hit the green button and stop.
Oh, share, whiteboard, Windows, Zoom, launch. Oh, I see. Stop. Does that work?
There we go, and we're back. We're back to the panel. Fedor is here. Everybody's here. Gerrie Neal has joined us. Hey, Gerrie, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for being here. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and switch over to some news here in just a second. Here, I need to now switch my thing here. This is news.
How do I pin CoCoTALK?
Yeah, I can't pin it either. It's not working.
These are first world problems.
I'm stuck on.
All right, so we are gonna go ahead and switch to some news here. Let's play some Curtis Boyle music.
Pretty good.
That's great.
Sound of silence.
Great signal.
That's how I sound the best, actually.
Oh, that's right, because I'm not sharing sound with you guys again. Hold on. All right, so we'll do that one more time. All right. Well, we got things to share. So this one came to us from Matt Chi, right? Matchu. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but it's Matt Che. He's here. He has posted a little demo he's written that takes advantage of the CoCo PSG with the Atari style joystick connectors and a sound chip. And this is a clone of the Atari 2600 combat game that looks pretty cool.
Yeah, and this is the PSG card from Ed Snyder.
The Zipster. So we got the cables plugged in. This looks like a CoCo 2 here with the melty keyboard. Okay, we're going to just fast forward to where the game starts loading.
There's CoCo 1.5. Huh.
Now, I don't know, has Matchy released the actual program to download?
I don't know.
Find it anywhere.
Matchy Games takes, okay.
That looks like a white CoCo 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, it's a CoCo 1. Okay. Look at this.
White one.
Semi-graphics 24 too, by the looks of it. So
yeah.
Another semi-graphics game.
Rotating very well.
And you notice that he does his score on the top there using the graphics characters.
Yeah.
This is what you could patch for the CoCo 3 pretty easily.
Yeah. I like the white noise sound. Look at that. That's good, huh? That little white noise explosion. That's very Atari sounding.
Yeah.
So we got sound in the background. Yeah, so semi-graphics are the closest thing we're going to get to an Atari 2600 look. And now we've got something closer to Atari sound, you know?
Yeah, and Ed's PSG actually has 2 Atari/Genesis joystick ports, and you can see he's using Atari 2600 joystick on this. It's also got 512K of flash RAM, it's got 512K of ROM, plus it's got the sound chip, so it's a pretty nice little...
So there's a link to this in the description to this YouTube video from Matchy.
And if you play the video just a bit forward, this is showing it without the sound card,
yeah.
so the straight CoCo sounds, if you want a comparison.
Yeah, so this is using DAC sound?
Yeah. Night and day difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, huge.
Right, because it doesn't, it's not constantly playing in the background now.
Yeah, and the explosion when you hit the other tank is pretty lame.
It's just a tone.
Well, is that because, is this a cheap knockoff or no, is this a good knockoff? I'm not sure. So if it was Nick's, it'd be a cheap knockoff, right? So I like how it rotates, though. The rotation is really good.
Yeah, considering you're doing a 64 by 192, which is a really odd pixel size, it actually looks pretty decent.
Yeah. Who's got the cat?
That's my pussycat. Right. He wants attention. He says, "Where are you,
whoa,
you're coming?"
Whoa. All right, so the link to this video is out there. You can check out Matchy on YouTube. Good stuff. This is another one, too. I won't play the whole video, but this guy here, this is our friend who has been on our live streams and our live chat recently, too. So this is Amigos Retro Gaming. He got himself an unboxing of some incredible CoCo stuff. And so when you go through the video here, this is time-lapse. This is, let's see here, if I play it backwards, this is him putting it all back in the box. Watch this. I'm going to fast forward to the end. And this is him.
It to me.
This is him putting it all back in the box now, right? So you can see here, this table starts off empty. And what we end up with is...
wow, look at that.
Got some books. We've got... yeah, this is a haul that would make Brian Weasler jealous.
Yeah, and he got it for what, for $175 for the whole thing, and he's got like a multi-pack. He's got a Disto super controller and all kinds of
speech sound pack in the cartridge, in the box.
Implemented a game, and you could go in and change. It was real easy to see what the sound.
Right, so I won't play the whole video, but the link to that video is there, and you want to check out his YouTube channel. It's called Amigos Retro Gaming, and I believe he's in our Facebook group now too. So cool stuff there. Nice CoCo collection. Now this is, I just wanted to share this link because we've been talking about the AGD stuff, the Adventure Game Designer stuff, Arcade Game Designer stuff. So there are, and this is all on archive.worldofdragon.org is where you can find some of the stuff, but there are some collections where you can get a pack of a lot of these. And what Per has done here is he's even taken some for the short file names. Because when I first unzipped all these, I had to abbreviate them all to get them to copy over to the CoCo SDC. And so he's created some collections that have already been shortened. So you might want to check that out. There's a link in the description of this video, but this is at your archive.worldofdragon.net. You can get some, I don't know if this is updated to include game pack number 30. I'm not sure how forward this goes. This looks like from June 14th.
He's pretty good with keeping them up to date.
Yeah.
And he released both game packs 29 and 30 this last week.
Okay,
And he's got another one coming out next week too.
So the big pack is all of the game packs into one downloadable zip file of disk images with short file names that you can pop into your CoCo SDC for your convenience. And the latest one is game pack number 30. And this includes a game called Key Van Os. Oh, no, that's the guys who, okay. Gab Adam, Alexandro Grusso present. I can't read that. So what does that say?
Actually, scroll up a little bit. He's got the 6 titles listed at the very top.
Okay. Castle Vic level 1, Castle Vic level 2, level 3, R2D2 exam, Toofy in the Fanland, and Toofy's Winter Nuts. Okay. So
did you get that big Game Pack 29? Because that's another new one. That's actually got like Junior's Donkey Kong Jr. and
we looked at that one last week, I thought.
Nope, it just got released on Tuesday.
Okay. I missed that one. I got Game Pack 30. Okay. So a bunch of screams here from this Catavic. Lots of Catavic screenshots. Okay, here's R2D2's tutor thing. That's interesting. Wow. Really interesting. Right? R2D2 doing some... And then here's our Toofy in Fanland. Hey, Toofy, how you doing? And then this is Toofy's Winter Nuts. Okay, more platform stuff. So that stuff's out there. archiveworldofdragon.org. Link in the description. If you got another one, Curtis, you can pull it up when we hand us over. Yep. The link to Nick Marentes. If you go to nickmarentes.com, you can get to his project archives and learn about Waterfall. And this is a review done by Jacob Moore, prodigy child of Bruce Moore.
I'm reviewing Nick Marentes' new game, Waterfall. Waterfall is based on the Atari 2600 game Man Goes Down. It is written in extended color basic with machine language routines for speed. In this game, Waterfall, you will see behind you a waterfall, hence the name. This is a medium difficulty game, so hence Stevie would probably be able to last about 30 seconds. Now, there's a trick for if you are in a desperate situation. What you can do is that if you're not going to quite make it to the platform, then you can sometimes just, if you hit the edge of one of the platforms, you can just make it on. This is a wonderful addition to the free CoCo games available. I implore you to get it.
He implores us to get it. You like that? That's a well-designed promotional video there. I'd give you that much. Yep. Right? So Nick Marentes, you can download this for free. We actually did a live stream of this a couple nights ago, earlier in the week. It was fun to play. It supports the speech and sound cartridge, which got us thinking, you know what, maybe we should look into doing more support for the speech sound cartridge. So here's some of the different versions. Here's Waterfall. Here's the original one for the Atari 2600 called Man Goes Down. Man Goes Down.
This is another game that goes well with the digital gamepad.
Excellent, right? So then this became Spike Goes Down on the Vectrex. That became Downfall. Downfall was the inspiration for Waterfall, and now this is Nick Marentes' cheap knockoff called Waterfall. So cool stuff, but it is a free download, and it does have source code. So if you want to learn how to write programs in BASIC to take advantage of the speech sound cartridge, or just how to write programs in BASIC, you might want to check that out. So thank you, Nick, for this.
And keep an eye out for version 2, which has some enhanced colors on the Waterfall and fits at 16K, etc. So.
Yeah.
How do you get more features and less RAM, Nick? How is that even possible?
Well, it wasn't a big program to start with. It was just designed on my CoCo 3, which has 32K of RAM for BASIC. So it was Curtis who said, "Oh, you should make it for 16K people."
Right.
So I did.
Yeah, I figure there's a lot of 16K CoCos getting picked up in eBay, and sometimes it's harder to find 64K upgrades or get them done. So here's a game that actually will work for those people.
Roger that. Now, this one might be one that you have in your list, Curtis. But Glen Dahlgren of Sundog Systems posted this link in the Facebook group saying, I don't post here often, but I was the guy from Sundog. I wrote a lot of produce. I reloaded a lot of games back in the day. I've made a lot of games for other systems. I've written a YA fantasy novel, The Child of Chaos. To promote it, I've put together an author portfolio page. So basically, he's posting a link to a website that's going to chronicle a lot of his projects that he's worked on. I guess he's working from the present to the past, so he'll eventually get to the CoCo projects.
Yeah, so he is planning on doing CoCo projects later on. Right now, he's got some stuff of the more recent.
All right, so it's mysterium.blog would be the page here. The Mysterium, Glen Dahlgren's musings about game designs and authorship. So it's going to feature some of his newer projects and then eventually work his way back to CoCo projects. So that's kind of cool. So that's out there. Now, Alan Huffman, I'm not sure if Alan Huffman is still here, but Alan mentioned the fact that our own Jeff Vavosaur, who created the original CoCo 3 and CoCo emulators for DOS, Jeff has gone on to big emulation projects, and one of the things that he's been working on is a project for Atari Arcade that's going to go into a new modern cabinet for Arcade 1-Up. And so I guess he's been involved in this as well. So this is an article from Atari Age that Alan posted. Are you still with us, Alan?
He is on, but he's muted.
Okay.
Oh, there he goes. Muted.
You sound like you're behind a fan in the Matrix. Are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm using headphones here on my iPad.
Serious bandwidth issues, Alan.
Alan, unplug your mic and replug it back in. I think you're silencing the Logitech bug.
Sorry, there's no microphone. I'm using some big open-ear can headphones that supposedly have microphones.
Nothing like a professional show here.
This is nothing like a professional show.
That was Alan under the Witness Protection Program.
We'll put a pin in that one. So now to do some representations from the UK. So our own Davy Mitchell from his YouTube channel called Davy's Retro Corner has presented us with some videos on a handful of Dragon games. This one is called Robin Hood. Are you back with us, Alan Huffman? Okay. So let's take a look at Microdeal Presents Robin Hood and see what this game is all about. Oh, he's got this. This actually looks good. Oh, he fell in the water. Okay, this looks good because the green is not the background color. In this case here, the green for his outfit's a foreground color. Looks like a platformer.
The graphics actually reminds me of that Module Man we just ran.
Yeah.
Game marathon.
It's like Canyon Climber.
Canyon Climber a little bit too, yeah. And there's a guy up there kind of like a kaboom style situation. Yeah, there's an arrow going across too like Canyon Climber. So it is incorporating elements. So you got bombs dropping on you, arrows going across, different challenges. Robin Hood on the Dragon 32 by Pocket Money Software. This is a cool looking game. I really want to get my Dragon out. And I mean, I could always just run an emulator, but I have a Dragon that I've never opened up yet, so I would like to get my
And if I remember his comments, he mentioned that these were some of the super cheap games. Like you remember Tom Mix had that little subsidiary that sold cheaper ones. This was
okay. So this is like a bargain basement Dragon game.
Literally like $4 or $5 each.
Okay, so Robin Hood for the Dragon 32. Thank you, Davy Mitchell, for sharing this with us. Let's look at a few more offerings. This one is called Datafall. Okay, this is kind of like a avalanche. Yeah. They had to make room for those giant fonts, so you only get about 3/4 of a gameplay screen to work with there. So,
what's your score? I can't read it.
this is for the old folks. So later on, when they got their little jitterbug phones, they can play this game here too on their jitterbug phone. So that's cool. So this is, you've seen games like this before, but this is cool. Oh, the shapes change. Okay. Now they look like falling mosquitoes or something. I have no idea what the hell those things are. Okay. Cool stuff. Cool stuff. So this one was called Datafall by Microdeal. And then another entry, Bubble Buster. Another entry. Another great Dragon entry. Bubble Buster, Pocket Money. We have different... See, this even lets you choose your colors here. Black, buff, or green. Okay, so this is also kind of like a more popcorny, yeah. Bubble... sounds a lot like popcorn. It's a cheap knockoff.
It was cheap from what he was describing, too. It was like $5. So.
I hope they asked Steve Bjork for permission.
Yeah. It does look a lot like popcorn. The difference that you're playing above water, right? So it's an interesting.
Oh, well, then it's totally different.
Totally different.
Yeah. Oh, and you lose a paddle like in popcorn. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So yeah, there are a lot of great games on the Dragon that most of us CoCo users just don't know about. But the Dragon is our cousin, and this is a cool game. So you could definitely get the X-Roar emulator by our very own Karen Anscombe. That is a great Dragon emulator. Also emulates the CoCo 1 and 2 very well. And check a lot of these things out. World of Dragon What's the name of their archive again? worldofdragonarchive.org or something like that. I don't remember. Something like that.
Does Dragon too?
This is for the Dragon 32.
Does VCC do Dragon as
well?
well?
No. VCC is only CoCo 3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. All right. And then we're going to cover the MC-10 because we had Jim Gerrie on the other night. We played some Jim Gerrie games in one of our live gaming marathons. So I was scouring the MC-10 Facebook group. So here's a link to Charlie's MC-10 webpage with some resources for the MC-10. So that link is out there. I also wanted to mention that Jim Gerrie has in the MC-10 group an outstanding... Okay, so this was a post from Jamie Cho in the MC-10 group. If you guys remember Jamie Cho, he was at CoCo Fest 2 years ago showing off Dino Sprite and some other stuff like that. And Jamie Cho kind of shows up every now and then and dazzles us with a little flash of brilliance, and then we don't see him for a while. But Jamie Cho mentioned the MC-10 group that the MC-10 was my first computer. It helped me learn the fundamentals. I'm very grateful my parents bought it for me and my siblings as it set us on the path towards computers. My parents did buy a CoCo 3 at my urging, and I felt I had outgrown the MC-10. In retrospect, especially after seeing Jim Gerrie's awesome programs, I still have a lot to learn, right? So isn't that cool that Jim Gerrie's an inspiration, right? So so Jamie Cho giving props to the master of the MC-10. This is a list of games that Jim Gerrie has on his site right now. This is Type In Mania. So Jim Gerrie is offering a trophy to somebody who can get a high score in one of his games. So one of the games we tried playing the other night. So Jim Gerrie says, okay, new contest. It's called the Type In Mania 2019. Since this trophy is going wanting to of a real winter, and even the legendary Steve Strobridge couldn't get 500 points. I sent him the other night. Anyone who can play any of my original games listed here with the asterisks in their names, the posts in the image of your high score, you're going to get this trophy. So if you look at some of these games here, if they have an asterisk in their names, or is that in his post? Where's the asterisk for the names in his post? But I think we have a winner now. It looks like George Phillips posted a screenshot of him getting 1,400 points in this game here. So this is an emulator you can play on the web to play the MC-10 in like a Java emulation. So this is looking like the high score has been beat. So I think George Phillips actually has won this trophy. But this was a challenge that Jim Gerrie threw out saying, hey, play one of my type-in games, win a trophy. That's all the news that I had, Curtis Boyle. I will stop my share. I will turn things back over to you if you want to pick up news on your end now. So
I'll do. I'll do a couple of the stories you did with just some additional stuff first. Get to sharing here.
Hey Stevie, you don't have to worry. You can always get another participation trophy that you can put in the closet.
I would like to point out that Jim Gerrie only develops for computers that support Windows.
There we go. So this is the article.
Yeah, so we were talking about Jeff Vavosaur, and some of the other guys at the place he works at actually are also CoCo users. There's at least another set of two brothers that are actively, and one of them actually mentioned in the comments that he's the one who actually did the 6809 part of this particular project, which is to take the original 3 Star Wars color vector graphics games, and they're going to sell a cabinet for about $500 that has these all built in. So this is just a bit more of the details, and these are some of the games that you'll be getting with that cabinet.
Star Wars Arcade, look at that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And they were demonstrating it at E3, which just happened. So that's kind of cool. Then I think I was going to show the other game pack that got released this last week.
This is 29. Okay.
Yeah. So here's the Donkey Kong Jr., which actually looks pretty decent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In black and white.
Mm-hmm.
And the various
I
levels.
played this a little bit. Well.
And this is Green Room. Screenshots from that one. Crap Park.
Crap Park. That's where our show gets parked at. Is that Crap Park? Yeah.
It's in L.A.
I thought that was Nick Marentes' studio.
Lost Little Spaceman, which is kind of describing Ken Reichert, I guess.
I'm kind of interested in this tool set because it seems like it's a real quick, easy way to crank out a game. It's the Lost Island.
Yeah, yeah. I know Pear's mentioned, because some people were asking on the CoCo list, because he's done a couple with color, but he was mentioning that once they finish getting the rest of the bugs out, because there's still another, I think, 14 games that don't currently compile under the CoCo properly. But once he's done that, he's thinking of working with somebody to do a CoCo 3 version where we can get all the colors back, like the Spectrum had. So it'd be really interesting if they can get that working.
And it'd be great if we could support a sound chip too, since the support for sound chip is already in the Specky.
Yeah.
Curtis, could you add this to your list for Nitrous 9 port?
Yeah, sure. I'll get right on that.
Ease of use.
So anyway, yeah, there's 2 new games packs. They've also announced there's another one coming out this next week with some more ones that they've fixed up. So keep an eye out for that.
Ken Reichert says, Curtis in space. No one will hear you scream.
No one can hear you solder your own hair.
Yeah.
Ken Reichert, the maker of trash.
Ken Reichert makes all that trash, yeah. So
this here is a video from Ron Klein. He did a Cocoa Pi 3 video tutorial of how to install the Cocoa Pi 3. I won't play the whole thing here. I'll just kind of skip ahead. But he basically gives you a description of how to set it up properly.
I need to subscribe to Ron. Oh, let's just look at the emulator, huh? Look at this. Look at this. CM8.
Yeah, that's using the new template background that Tim Linder did with the CM8.
Except for the green LED.
So he's got the whole description. Basically, I'm not going to play the whole thing because it's like 15 minutes long. But if you're having trouble getting it installed on the Cocoa Pi 3, like getting the software installed,
okay,
this explains how to set it up. So.
Okay, we need to link that.
It's not a genuine CMA because it's got the door on it.
Yeah.
It's a very rare CM8.
Yeah.
I just put the link in the YouTube chat there so you guys can grab it.
Thank you, L. Curtis.
We mentioned this a little bit earlier, but I thought I'd just throw the actual link to it here. This is Mark Sulfridge did the converting JPEGs to CoCo files.
Mm-hmm.
And these are actually samples he did. So it does a pretty decent job with Floyd Steinberg dithering and everything else. So
yeah,
this is a way to convert these high color pictures that you actually view them on your actual CoCo. So that's really cool.
And this is the one that converts it to the bin file with the basic file too?
Loader. Yeah.
Yeah, that's neat.
That is the one. This I kind of stumbled on. I don't know who Devin2277 is. Maybe he's on the show here on the panel, or he's active in the groups. But he's done a couple of videos for the CoCo here this last week. The first one.
I would ask people to mute themselves if you're not currently speaking. We're getting a lot of noise right now. Go ahead, Curtis.
Okay, so he did a repair on a CoCo 1 here, and he was going through the labels and stuff. But basically, somebody cut the power cord right off. So he had to go in and fix some stuff, and he kind of goes through the board. It's an actual D board, so it's a pretty old one. You recognize the old right here. And he goes through the whole repair. Like I said, I'm not going to play it all. He was testing it with the disk drives. He was switching between DOS 1.0, 1.1, and he was kind of rusty on his CoCo stuff because he hasn't done it in 20, 30 years himself. So I gave him a couple of comments on things that he had a little bit incorrect, but he basically figured out most of it on its own and got it eventually running to the point where then he did a second video where he actually did a little playthrough on Sands of Egypt, running off this CoCo 1 that he'd fixed up.
Okay, cool.
So once again, I won't play the whole thing here, but pretty interesting.
Post a link to that. I'd like to subscribe to that channel too. I want to reach out to them. It's always great to see other people out there discovering the CoCo that maybe they aren't as in depth, but it's nice to see somebody going through their own trials and tribulations, you know?
Yeah, and he's an ex-CoCo owner from way back in the day, and he just finally got back into it.
Okay.
And I thought I'd highlight the special that we did here earlier on Speech Sound Pack games, including the Interbank incident. I don't think we got far enough to hear all the sound effects because I know that there's rushing waves if you're on the boat.
Okay,
and you hit that one part where the poster's waving in the wind, you can actually hear, shaking in the wind and stuff like that. So it's one of the better ones to demonstrate sound effects.
I was thinking that since we kind of did this whole potpourri where we just kind of did a speed run through a lot of different games, we should do a sit down and play one game at a time now, like kind of this whole group thing. So a group playing of this game would probably be cool, and some of the other adventures like Calixto Island and things like that. So I think in future streams we'll focus on one game and take a deeper dive into that game and kind of collectively beat our heads against it and try to solve the puzzles and stuff,
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Now, some of the arcade games we were talking, like we were discussing earlier, maybe having a Dragon game symposium type thing where you can actually play them on the stream. And I've sent you like the Rommel's Revenge and a few others there, but there's a few that we can do those because they're arcade games more in a group and blast through a few of them at once. But yeah, for the adventure games, I think you're right. We should actually just sit and do one at a time.
Yeah, I'll try to get my CoCo VGA working properly too, so we can get a good clean picture of it. This was composite.
But for those of you that are interested in the sound speech pack, this was fun, and it has a ton of different games we went through, and you explain which ones just have speech, which the majority did. Some had sound effects, some had music, and you kind of do a run through. I
actually, because you and I started this a long time ago, Curtis, I found the original Google spreadsheet that you and I worked on back in 2016, where we were trying to come up with our own list of games that we thought supported it and didn't support it. So I ended up pulling that one up and referencing that. And there was a few on there, like one of those. There was a graphics adventure for OS 9 that was kind of like a Calixto Island style game, but it basically narrated everything. It was like something with the king or something like that, or I don't remember.
Yeah, the Spectral Associates one. I hadn't actually seen the one before too.
Yeah, I didn't know. So that was kind of neat.
Yeah, this one here was actually an early attempt at doing a graphical mouse driven.
Yeah, way ahead of its time. Point and click interface, because I don't think the Sierra Online games were doing that at this time. Sierra Online did not. Sierra Online was still using the joystick or keyboard.
The only other game I know around this time, and it was a little bit later, was Castle Thurgood, and that didn't do a very good job of it. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Neat.
And here, Ron Klein posted the link to this recently. Now, this is a video we recorded in 2016, and this was to demo John Linville's video player in 2016, but using some videos that Ron himself had made.
Okay, that he kind of recoded.
Yeah, so I'll just fast forward. And this is using the composite 256 color mode. So he's doing like, this is the intro to the Minions.
Neat. Yeah, it is a neat project.
Yeah. I don't think I'm sharing sound at the moment, am I?
No, you're not, but that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll get the idea.
I'm purposely not doing that so we don't get a copyright for it.
Right. No, it looks good. I mean, people can't appreciate that the fact that this is happening on a CoCo is pretty impressive.
Yeah, this was using the Glen side ID, and now with the new streaming function on the SDC, that's actually a little bit faster. So you can technically do like Ed Snyder's done, slightly better quality because the streaming.
Oh, just like as far as faster I/O to
better quality sound or whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
That was kind of cool. And speaking of Jim Gerrie, we mentioned elevator action during something last week, and he immediately started porting it. This is his beta, because he released a video of the alpha when he first started, and then released a beta where it's actually a bit more playable. So I'll just.
Now, is this an original that he's doing, or has this been a conversion?
This is a conversion of the elevator action game from the arcade game from 1983.
But is it from another system where he already had the source code? Is what I'm trying to figure out, or is it?
No, it's clean room as far as I know.
Okay, so this is an original implementation. This is not a transcode of a type-in.
Yeah, just original implementation.
It says cool how we got the character to kneel. I think the character can.
That is really neat. Oh, these are the bad guys coming out of the doors.
Yeah.
Now, when do Grant and David Ladd and Mark Oberholzer and you get in the elevator?
That's what those special colored doors. Those are the elevators that break down in the middle between.
There used to be a jump button.
Yeah. But it's a pretty cool port of it. I don't know if he's quite finished it yet. I'd have to ask him. Out of beta.
Is this using?
His betas last like a week. My betas last for years. So.
Is this using 8 colors?
I believe they are colors.
Colors. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, standard 8 color mode.
But that's all it has, right? That's all colors on screen.
Yeah. This is SG4, right?
Yeah, this is a straight set reset graphics from color basic, not even extended basic type thing. So.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's amazing what you can do with semi-graphics,
Yeah. Now, this is from Carlos Camacho, and he posted in the 6809 group, which I'm not sure how many of us here are all in that group because it's a bit more specialized. But basically, he's gotten in contact with Terry Ritter via email. And Terry Ritter is one of the guys that designed the 6809 as well as the 6847 and a few other chips. Now, several people have offered, to get him on various shows to interview him live, and it sounds like Terry doesn't want to do a live one. He would prefer to do it email because he wants to think his answers up first. So it's going to be an email interview by the sounds of it, but actually Carlos is taking questions, and I've posted a few, and Alan Huffman's posted a few, and a few other people, Art Flexer and a few others, are all posting questions that he's going to ask Terry, and then we'll get the responses back.
Okay.
There's been questions like, what happened with the RMS project? Were you involved with it? Or did you design the 6809 with, a C compiler in mind because the way you did 2 stacks, and et cetera, et cetera. So anybody who has any technical questions for the guy that helped design the 6809.
That's neat.
Well, join the 6809 group and send some questions to Carlos, and he'll forward them on.
Okay, Kurt, I have a question about what Terry would the 6309.
That actually is a question I think somebody has meant. Was that you that mentioned it before? But somebody had actually posted that.
Oh, really? Yeah, I imagine somebody did. Yeah.
Actually, it might have been Art that was asking about that. So I'm really looking forward to the results of the interview. I don't know how long this is going to take. I don't know how long he's accepting questions. But if anybody here or watching or on the panel wants to ask questions, this is the place to post them so that Carlos can gather them all up. And we're talking about Ed Snyder with his keyboards. You can see on the bottom the standard
color.
But now he's got this special one where the arrow keys are done in blue.
Wow.
I mean, fantastic.
I wish there was a little bit more room in the keyboard, because I would love to have a keyboard that actually duplicated the up and down arrow keys on the far left beside ultimate control.
Yeah.
So that you could play the CoCo 1 and 2 games with the 2 hands like they were designed.
Yeah.
That's the dark gray keys I was talking about earlier on.
Yeah,
too.
that's neat.
But you can see he's been playing with colors. Like this one here is a 4-color tone, but he's got dark gray for the clear, enter, shift, function keys, etc. But the ones on the bottom, that his more standard model here has a much, those are in white, and the standard keys are in a light gray. So he was taking some suggestions there on Facebook, etc., to see what kind of color schemes everybody liked. But the thing is, since he's buying blank keycaps, he literally could do a custom order. You would just order, whatever number of keys you need of whatever color, and then he just laser etches the symbols on. Literally, he could do any colors he can get the keycaps in.
Yeah, I liked how the other CoCo keyboard, where the keys were kind of somewhat gray, and then the highlighted keys were bright white, so almost a reverse of this. Like, I would like the real keys to be gray, and then these gray keys to be white. That's more like
in the background.
Well, if you look in the upper left corner there, you can see one of those schemes without the blue, mind
here.
You,
so gray and white, yeah, that's kind of cool right there.
I personally prefer the darker gray he's got on this one that's prominent, rather than the lighter.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind keys looking like that. I wouldn't mind having my dark gray keys and then the white highlighted keys, and then maybe red.
I'm going to hold on until he does plaid keys, because that's my
favorite.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just get every row a different color so we can actually have a rainbow keyboard. So,
I'm waiting for him also to bring out the ones that have little LEDs underneath, so you can light them up for games.
Backlit keyboards, yes.
There you go.
Well, you do the QAZ one color, and the WSX another color, and the ED.
RGB keyboard, RGB LEDs under.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the only extra news stories I had beyond the ones you did. You actually covered over half of mine, so.
Okay, good job. Good job. All right, well, I hate to wrap it up, but my stomach says it's time to put a fork in this show. So we're going to play the closing credits, and then we will then have some last-minute thoughts. We've kind of decided that, so I will post a memory upgrade video later on to the internet, and you guys can do it. So we'll play an outro, and then we'll be back for final thoughts. This concludes another episode of CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color Computer. For all things CoCoTALK, visit us on the web at CoCoTalk.live. We'd love to hear from you. Send feedback, suggestions, even segments via email to CoCoTalk@CoCoTalk.live.
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, 'cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
Consider supporting the show with a purchase of merchandise from our retro swag shop at 8bit256.com. If you'd like to become a patron of the show, click the Patreon link at our website at CoCoTalk.live.
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. may be mocked, but we'll never stop. Cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
CoCoTALK would not exist without the community, its cast, crew, and contributors. Thanks go to Curtis Boyle, David Ladd, Mark Overholzer, Grant Leedy, Bruce Moore, Nick Marentes, Ron Delvaux, Rick Adams, Jason Reichert, Richard Lorbieski, Jim Brain, Tom C., Rob Inman, Mark Bosley, Brian Joyce, Ken Reichert, David O'Connor, Brian Weasler, Terry Steggy, Nick Marotta, John Strong, and many more, especially to Steve Bjork for production suggestions and James Differendaffer for making my head explode. Please help support the CoCo community by visiting some of its various contributors, which is available at imacoconut.com. That's IMACOCONUT.com. The CoCoTALK theme song is copyright 2008 by D. Bruce Moore and Greg Sheeler. Mixed, mastered, and produced by D. Bruce Moore.
Hey, can we get a little bit of a stuck in the elevator?
Can't remember.
You know this Thoughts by the Stephen Gimes or whatever it is?
Yes.
His last name reminds me of the Gimme.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's coincidental,
Thought
huh?
that too. Give me
No?
yes. Give me yes.
Yeah.
All right, so we're
We
here in
should
the...
go out on Bruce's latest song.
We should do that. We're going to go out on Bruce's latest song. We're going to play us out with latest song from D. Bruce Moore. Here you go, guys. Enjoy this as we do this.
When the CoCo group's immersed in drama, conflict in community, some have found the answer.
Take a deep breath.
Sound cards, memories, sometimes software, always personalities. We can find the answer.
Breathe deep. Breathe
Let
deep.
it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. We can find the answer, let it be. And when the group starts fighting, we can turn on that green screen. Basic or assembly, sometimes C.
Spread your wings.
Sometimes C, sometimes C. Basic or assembly.
We're all human.
There we find the answer, let it be.
Spread your wings. Spread your wings.
This is the remix.
Grow a pair.
We're still live, you know.
Spread your wings. Spread your wings.
Frickin' Greg. Ron's got his lighter up there.
And sometimes RSB.
And sometimes RSB.
I have a CoCo lighter.
There you go. Look at that.
Check that color.
OS9 RSB multitask Ken's trash.
Ouch!
This is why I stuck around until the end. I'm going to regret it later.
Everybody's kumbaya.
After dark
Okay,
could be
we
wild
gotta-
tonight.
We got to set this up for To Imagine by John Lennon.
Yes, imagine.
Imagine all the boomerangs.
Imagine there's no other computers, just a CoCo.
Ah.
Imagine there's no VIC-20.
Yeah.
MC-10.
I'm going to press the button, guys. I want to thank everybody in the live stream who's been watching us today. I want to thank everybody on the panel. Going back to the top of the show, Davy Mitchell was here, and Jim Brain from Retro Innovations, Ken Reichert, Dave's Hobbies has been here, Eric Canales, Mike Craig, Alan Huffman, Tom C. was here in the chat, Nick Marotta was in the chat, Alexander Wallace from Mexico is in the chat. Qui-Gon was here earlier. Jim Gerrie has been here. Ed Snyder came by to say hi to us. Terry Steen was here. Ken Reichert. D. Bruce Moore. Salvador Garcia. Amigos Retro Gaming was here. Ed Snyder, you just name it. The world came out to see us. Mike Craig was here. Jim Gerrie. Legendary game designer Jim Gerrie. Rob Inman. Matchy has been here. Al Hartman from Jersey has been here. Curtis Boyle, Ken Reichert, Jim Gerrie, you name it. The list goes on. The celebrity audience. There's more celebrities in the audience than there are on the panel most of the time here. And remaining on the panel is Ron Delvaux, L. Curtis Boyle, Nick Marotta.
Oh, I'm much happier breaking stuff.
Wrong button, but we did have Nick. We have. There we go. And Mark B. and David O'Connor and Rob Inman has been here. And David Ladd.
You. Yes, you're too kind. Oh, I'm much happier breaking
Yes,
stuff.
and then Nick Marentes, the guy who's famous for saying... Richard Lorby, crikey!
Maker of cheap knockoffs everywhere.
Maker of cheap knockoff games. Grant Leedy has been here, the guy who's been stuck in the elevator. Richard Lorbieski. To all of you, thank you. You're all too kind. I'm pressing the button. Everybody say goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank God.